Oshi no Ko.
It's Ai Hoshino, or I'm sorry, Hoshino Ai, my favorite idol.
This is the big one, not just because it's long.
It was requested a lot.
It was requested a lot. It is
It overtook Full Metal Alchemist on Mal for a while. Is it?
I don't know about right at this moment, but it was. If it's not the number 2 right now, it had been the number 1 and then number 2 highest rated anime on my anime list. Period. It's currently sitting
at number 6.
It's dropped to 6, which is a lot more reasonable. Still unreasonable.
Yeah.
The score is way too high.
Absolutely,
guys. I like this show.
I am iffy.
It's not a fucking 9.6 out of 10.
No. Not even a little bit.
And it certainly isn't the best anime of all time or anything like that. Not that I think anybody's claiming that. It just happens to be the highest score imaginable. I get how it happened. The first episode, in its own ways, is incredible. I do think it's a very strong start. It's also 80 fucking minutes long. So the first episode is the length of 4 anime episodes. So while we're only talking about episodes 1 through 4 on this particular episode, it is actually 7 episodes. People are saying idol trash in the description. This isn't really an idol show. It's kind of a murder mystery, kind of a thriller about working in the entertainment industry. There's definitely slice of life elements and comedy elements, but it is ultimately more of a mystery thriller. I mean, the reason for this show's success is that it is so many things. It's a lot of genres. It's got a lot of ideas, mostly in the first episode. The first episode is just fucking packed with stuff. It felt like I was watching it for a lifetime. There was so much going on.
It's a very idol-y show.
Oh, it's funny you say that because I was just explaining how it's not that much of an idol show.
Well, it's not, but it is. It's more about the realistic life of an idol, but it's still really girly.
This comes from the same original author as Kaguya-sama Love is War, which is a show that we enjoyed watching together.
I do think towards the last episode we watched, it reaches the level of that. But to have a movie and then 2 to 3 episodes in between,
it was a lot to take in all at once. I have more screen caps, obviously, from this episode than any other episode of any anime because it is 80 minutes long. I think, again,
the plot is so convoluted.
This show to me is, I kept saying as we were watching it, Reddit incarnate.
Yeah.
This is the most Reddit anime that's ever existed, and it's hard to explain what that means to people who have never been on Reddit or understand the culture of it, but
what if you were a gynecologist in the 2000s and a huge fan of Britney Spears? You know, or a Britney Spears equivalent. I don't mean to name her specifically. I don't mean to cast any aspersions. This is all purely hypothetical. And then, being a fan of this pop idol, Britney Spears or
we're gonna go through the whole plot. You don't need to be coy about
trying
to describe the plot. How do you feel about it?
They show up and they're like, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And you go, "Oh my god, that's why she's been gone for so long. Holy crap, what do I do about that?" And so eventually, the babies, they're getting born. But right before that, a stalker finds you and murders you.
You sound like you're speaking complete nonsense right now. It sounds like you're describing absolute nonsense.
Isn't it a great show? Isn't this an awesome show that makes a lot of sense?
I'm trying to really collect how to describe this show because it is 6 different goddamn genres and shows that all happen within one episode.
Murder mystery, mommy fetish.
Well, and it's not even all that. Yeah, the mommy fetish stuff. There's a lot of fetish shit.
Idol fetish.
Diaper fetish. Age regression.
Fetish.
Fucking, it's the most.
It's more than 6, that's for sure.
I think I described this as the least sexually explicit, most fetishistic anime I have ever seen.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know what it was going to be until I think we paused the first episode like 75% of the way in, and then at some point in
I fell asleep, I think.
Yeah, before we got back to it, I had spoiled myself on what it was.
Oh, it was funny too, because normally I do that, and then we had gotten to right before what was, what's eventually going to happens. I was like, wait, is this about to happen? Yeah. And you went, you haven't spoiled yourself for this. And that was a weird sentence to hear.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this show and you're curious about it, watch it before you listen to this, because we are going to spoil it. And it is a twisting, turning first episode.
I'm trying not to spoil it right now.
But I also don't necessarily recommend this show. This is not a show I would recommend until it is over and people are telling you if it was overall good or not. Because there is potential for greatness here, and there is also potential for just dog shit. There is plenty of potential for this to be total dog shit. And I will say, I haven't really enjoyed it.
No, I'm with you, absolutely. There's not quite an episode that's really hooked me on it. Some of them are a little intriguing, but...
Here's the problems I have with this show. Way too much fucking dialogue.
Absolutely.
Way too much fucking dialogue.
Which, from Kaguya-sama Love is War, you might expect. But Kaguya-sama Love is War, like, the dialogue is extensive, but it's always leading towards something. With this, most of the time it leads towards something. But there's a lot of dialogue that just doesn't do anything.
I personally, initially when I watched Kaguya-sama, I had not liked it because it is so heavy on internal monologue and characters with like their own personal logic and approach to the world. A lot of that stuff tends to annoy me, particularly when characters are always going on about like the way things are. And this show has a lot of that. This opening monologue here, the image we have on screen, it's showing Ai doing a performance, and there's like this monologue about how being an idol is all about lies and deception, and the idol fan is one who embraces that deception, and blah, 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 blah. And it's all like, yeah, that's a way of looking at it. That's a perspective. But it's not the way things are. And this anime is always doing this. It's always presenting like one angle, one cynical lens of the industry as like, yeah, but have you looked at it this way? And it's not that the show...
it's not true.
It's not even that the show thinks that is the only way to look at it, but it's just that it's so like self-assured with the way it talks about things that it's always like, well, this is the way things really are. And like,
this show is like 85 wild goose chases encasing a legitimate goose chase.
I kind of get what you mean by that.
So since you like went, oh, you haven't spoiled yourself for this yet? I have spoiled myself heavily.
Okay, so now you know exactly where it's going.
Yes.
I have not.
So, yeah, I mean, it's Wild Goose Chase for the most part. I mean, he gets little bits and pieces. It's like collecting parts of the Gundels. Does Bird even like anime? How dare you, sir?
What gave you the impression? You were really positive about that last extremely anime show that we just watched.
Well, I think this
The Darkness in My
Heart.
You're also extremely passionately in service of Mashal.
I love Mashal.
You were into Heavenly, whatever, to some degree.
Delusion.
Yeah.
Hell's Paradise.
No, this is the one that gave us trouble. This is the one. And it's not that I think this is a good show. I think it's actually, the first episode I think is very good. Do I like it? Not really.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's the kind of thing where I look at it and I go, I understand exactly why this show is popular. I totally get the appeal.
I do not
it all
understand
makes sense to
for
me.
a second how it unseated Full Metal Alchemist.
That's where it gets... Well, and so here's the thing, right? Like with Mal's scores, you got to remember, every anime's score drops dramatically once it's over. Because you have to think about what kind of person scores an anime they have.
It's dropped from number 1 to number 6.
I'm saying it's going to drop about 200 slots when it's over.
I'm thinking a lot of people saw this first anime, or a fucking...
episode.
The episode movie, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what... the first episode is literally 90 minutes long. It's a movie. Yeah. And thought, wow, there's so many places for this to go. And there are...
If you want to make anime fans care about a show, kill the mom.
Yeah.
You ever seen Attack on Titan?
I didn't know that was going to happen. I was not jazzed about it.
Well, I think it's the only reason that this is as popular as it is. Like, it is a one-stop destination for making your show extremely popular. Just kill the mom. Anime fans, they kind of have mommy complexes, I guess. Especially the ones who like this show, because oh boy, does it get into it. All right, we should start going through clips. Start describing what the fuck is going on. So yeah, our main character is a gynecologist.
She's the leader. Well, oh right, he is a guy. I forgot that's who that was.
In the countryside, he's. I
don't think he's in the countryside.
He is. They live in the middle of like a nowhere town.
Oh, okay. So he's in the countryside, and he's a big fan of idols, for reasons why we'll learn later.
Specifically, Ai's group, this idol group that he's obsessed with, particularly the girl Ai. He's in love with them. The woman he works with is like, you're a pedophile, right? And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm not thinking about it like that. And she's like, well, if you met Ai, would you date her even though she's 16? And he's like, no comment. She's like, pedophile.
See, that's the problem with Japan. You don't have the Fifth Amendment.
She's only 16, isn't she? I guess that makes you a predator.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then he talks about how...
And welcome to the reason why he likes Ai so much, is because he has this patient. I forget her name, though. She's a pretty pivotal character.
Yeah, there's this sick girl that he spent a lot of time with who was obsessed with Ai and constantly watching her performances and studying them. And she basically was wishing to be reborn as an idol's child. Wouldn't it be amazing if right from birth you had all of the looks and abilities of an idol?
This is mentioned at least 5 times in this episode.
Foreshadowing, maybe.
Or is it? What could happen?
But it turns out she died of an anaplastic astrocytoma when she was just 12 years old.
Could you please find out what that means?
Anaplastic astrocytoma. I'm not going to find out what it means.
I asked you to, though.
I thought you were asking the internet that's listening to find out. Anyways, so very predictably, like, we find out on the news that there is a pregnant idol, and of course it's Ai, and of course she has come to this doctor, and of course he doesn't recognize her right away, but as soon as she takes her like hat off and he sees, oh my god, it's the girl I'm obsessed with, what the fuck, why is she here, how is she pregnant when she's 16, what is going on? And out in the lobby where, like, there's some other popular entertainers having a marriage announcement, these guys are like, wait, so if I die right now, there's a chance I'll be reborn as an idol's kid, right? Why is this such a widely held belief in this show's universe?
It's a weird thing to just mention so casually all of the time.
For 2 people in the same hospital to be very specifically like, wouldn't it be awesome?
It's gonna be mentioned again. Also, I know I said 4 to 5 times, but it's gonna be at least 3 times. I know that.
To the person asking who nutted in her in the chat, that's the whole show, buddy. That is the plot.
And by we don't know, I mean I know and I can't say.
Yeah, that is.
Because it wouldn't make any sense.
The main thrust of the mystery in the show. So basically, what happens is there's a long sequence. And I will say, I think that this first episode being 80 minutes long was ingenious. I don't know how this was broken up in the manga, like how many chapters this was, but it's very clearly like a opening arc that is establishing everything leading up to like what the actual story is. And it's a long time of you wondering like what is actually actually this going to be about? Because it twists and turns so much getting there. But in that process, it does a pretty good job of establishing a lot about its main characters and the world that they inhabit. Like, this episode is really dense. And again, there's way too much fucking dialogue. It's denser than it needs to be. It introduces too many concepts. But it really wants you to understand Ai and her situation by the end of the episode. So there's a lot of, like, her coming to the hospital, working with the doctor. They have conversations together. They develop a bond. She's really determined that he's going to be the one to deliver the children. Like, you know, they have talks about, you know, why she wants to keep the kids and all this kind of stuff. Someone said this is the first 10 chapters. So, yeah, that makes sense. It's a lengthy fucking segment. But, yeah, after he's talked to her for a long time, on the day that she's supposed to, like, deliver the kids, a guy, like, turns up at the hospital asking about her. And doctor's like, what the fuck? Who are you? This is suspicious. The guy leads him into the woods and pushes him off a cliff. So our homie is dead.
And then, while he's dying, he has the whole thought of, what if I was reborn as an idol's child?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I never had really thought about, because...
Until, you know, 2 or 3 people had mentioned it to me suspiciously in the past week or months or so. You know, it's a little weird.
What do you know? He was born as one of Ai's twins. Cute baby named
Aquamarine.
So, at this point in the show, I thought this was going to be a show about just being an idol's baby.
So did I.
It goes on for a little while, and I really thought, like, this is the most demented fucking show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was my first impression, was like, middle-aged man who's obsessed with this girl becomes her baby so that he can be...
But he refuses to be breastfed by her.
Yeah, I think I have a screen cap of that. But, yeah, it's just... I mean, I've known, you know, some ABDL... fetishists, adult baby diaper lovers.
I know what it means.
You know,
I'm curious to know who you've known who are those.
I've known a few of them, and
we will talk later.
And you know, it's not my scene, but
you know, who doesn't love pissing their pants every now and then?
Well, and a big part of it is age regression specifically. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is an age regression, baby diaper, mommy fetish. Like, it's just a list of fetishes. And it's like this for about 10 minutes. And it's funny because when I revisited it, knowing, like, what the show is, I was nowhere near as, like, disgusted is, I guess, the word. I didn't think it was as perverse as I initially did, because I really thought the whole show was going to be this, and it leans into this bit, like, we're getting to the breastfeeding stuff.
I saw someone comparing this show to Mushoku Tensei, being like, well, everyone loves
it like that,
but I saw it like, well, everyone loves this show and everyone hated Mushoku Tensei. That's like, well, I disliked Mushoku Tensei, but it was very well received.
Yeah, that show was beloved by tons of people. It was like the most successful show of the last couple of years. So anyone trying to be like, well, why'd you all complain about that one, not this one? They're complaining about both.
I mean, I think there's literally people complaining about it right now.
So basically, they're trying to keep these babies a secret. You know, Ai wants to keep her babies around, but they cannot be publicly known about.
So her manager and the manager's wife adopt them.
Essentially, yeah. They're taking care of them. They will actually adopt them later. But this is the scene where it's revealed after a couple minutes of just like the main guy being with the mom, that the daughter is also a reincarnated person who had been obsessed with Ai. It's very obvious to us watching the show that it's the sick girl, but there are reasons that will be obfuscated to the guy.
It was obvious to me because I knew. It's pretty obfuscated until like the 2nd or 3rd episode of this show. Really? No, it's
I mean, aside from the fact that it's obvious, because who else would it be? It is kind of revealed in this episode.
Okay. But yeah, they love their mom. They're both big fans of Ai. They also... Yeah, the way Ai has the 2 star eyes. They have 1 star eye. Yeah. And whenever Aquamarine is plotting some dastardly bullshit, his eye goes spooky.
Yeah, this is how he finds out that she is like a fan of Ai, is that the daughter is just like going on social media and like defending her very ardently, like getting into full on flame
Twitter
wars with
fights. It was
people.
great. I really enjoyed this part of the show.
Okay, so here's the breast milk scene, right?
Oh yeah. So the girl's just like, yeah, are you kidding me? We're her children. Are you not going to breastfeed?
It is our God-given right to have our mother's milk, is the way she puts it. And
titties, titties, titties.
it's just a really funny scene of her giving like a smug look to him after sucking the boobs and being like, huh, I don't know why you cocked yourself. But yeah, he won't suck the boobs even though he's a baby. I mean, they had to go into depth about all of it, I guess. You're going to ask questions otherwise. Okay. So in the midsection here of this episode, there's a lot of little like character building tidbits. But basically,
the mom is left, or fucking not the mom. I'm sorry, that would be Hoshino Ai.
Ai's manager's
the manager's wife is left to look over the kids, and the kids. Yes, the babies are smart. The babies have all of their knowledge from their previous lives.
Yeah, the boy is literally the doctor who is delivering Ai's children. He has all of his memories. He was killed right at that moment of birth. The girl is the sick girl who's obsessed with Ai. She also has all of her memories.
But so, the wife is looking after these kids, and she's kind of going through like a weird midlife crisis type deal thing, where she's like, well, I could expose everything right now. I could say that these are Hoshino Ai's kids, and all of my... I didn't sign up to be a babysitter. I could just do this. Yeah. And so the kids speak up and pretend they're gods.
They're thinking about murdering her, but then they decide, how do we just trick her? So they pretend that they are possessed with the spirits of gods. By the way, this is a scene that, like, I kind of forgot this had happened, because it's cute and funny when it happens, because you're not thinking about long term that this woman's going to be a character for the rest of their story.
But she becomes their mom.
Yeah, she like adopts them and everything, and this never comes up again. Like, it's not clear if she still thinks that they're divine godchildren that are gonna... Also, the promise they make to her is that she will have a second marriage to a hot actor. And that's what inspires her.
Which isn't even relevant yet, because like later it is a point that her husband just kind of disappears. Mm-hmm. We don't know where he goes, but like, I mean, women be shopping for other partners.
She certainly was at this point. I don't know if she remembers that any of this happened by the point we're at in the show now. Yeah, here's the second marriage to a handsome actor.
This didn't happen. Mm. This is imagination.
They have a lot of talk about how they don't really make that much money being an idol. There's all this overhead, and again, there are a ton of long monologues about how the industry works, usually from a very cynical perspective, trying to be like, huh, you thought it was all sunshine and smiles, but the smiles are fake, and it's all capitalism.
It is interesting, though. I do feel it's a pretty accurate portrayal of the idol industry.
It is, but it's so... And I'll admit, like, a lot of anime that is about idols bothers me because it is completely bought into the fantasy. Where, like, idols are meant to be, like, beyond human, essentially, in the way that they're presented, even though they obviously are real human beings in real life. So when you watch idol anime, where there is no real life component, they just create idols that are actually that perfect image that, you know, real people are pretending to be. So for this show to, like, deliberately say, well, we're going to present it realistically, and here's how those people would actually act, you know, I appreciate what it's trying to do there, but it's still doing it in a very, like, anime way, where the point of it is still that there's, like, this magical realism, and, like, the rebirth, and the stabbing plot, and all this mystery shit, and, like, none of the characters act like real people, you know, none of them acts like a believable, normal character, but the show is constantly insisting that, like, this is how the world really works, and this is how stuff actually is, and it's weird to have these, like, 5-minute monologues of characters explaining the industry as the backdrop of this totally fucking ridiculous plot with these whack-out, you know, magical characters. So the tone of the show is a little strange.
We haven't seen any literal magical abilities yet.
I mean, they were both reborn into new
It's
bodies.
supernatural. It might not be magical.
Fair enough. I don't know what the difference is. Anyway, she's saying that, all these Idol fans should be selling their fucking kidneys for my mom. She's crazy. They end up having this concert where... This is another scene where, in order to get into Ai's head, they're going on this long thing about how she's a fake. Like, in her own mind, she is... somebody who cannot love, who cannot really express the level of happiness that she's trying to, because she was like an orphan and she had like this fucked up upbringing, and she's just trying to like make money and make something of her life. So there's like an internet commenter who shits on her smile for being mechanical, and she's kind of like ranting in her head like, well, it being mechanical is the point. You're supposed to want to buy into this fantasy I'm projecting and all that. But she's getting all in her head about it during the performance, and then her babies, who were not supposed to be there, have been brought along, and of course they cannot help themselves but to, on instinct, do a perfect light show dance routine of their mom's set, which becomes a Twitter sensation. The video clip goes viral, adding to her career, and it's, she's inspired by seeing how much her children love her to put on an amazing performance. It's
This
cute.
is one of the cutest scenes I've ever seen.
So she ends up getting invited to do movies and TV type stuff.
Well,
So,
it's just a TV show at first.
yeah, this is like her first role, and the kids are there. They are supposedly her assistant's children, which the director takes as like a woke thing. He's like complaining about it at first, but he's like, maybe this is woke. I'm not gonna bitch. Basically, he ends up talking to Aqua.
Sucks. Does not do a good job at acting. She's real cool. She got stars in her
That's
eyes.
not exactly true. It's not that she's a bad actress. It's that she draws too much attention. Because the idea of this scene is that she does well, and everybody thinks that she looks amazing, but because of the fact that the lead actress in this show is supposed to be billed as a cute leading lady, they can't have another girl being cuter than her in the same show because it's a bad look, so they end up cutting all her scenes.
That seems like the casting agents should have been fired for that.
This show has a real burr in its boot over casting and the politics of casting in particular. Like, it's a very cynical look at the industry where they're like, yeah, everything's money. But the biggest thing they fixated on is the whys and hows of people getting cast in shit and like all the dumb politics behind why people are in shows. Definitely a big part of it. Makes me think that there's something personal there for the author of the manga. Yeah, this is the conversation they're having afterwards. By the way, so he meets Aqua the kid meets the director of this show, and basically is asking him for like a favor or like a little bit of information about his mom. But the fact that he is so well spoken kind of like creeps out and intrigues the director, and he immediately wants to put him in something. He's like, I want you to be in a thing. And then they have a long-ass conversation where the director's just telling this kid all this complicated information that you would never tell a child, but, that's the scene. So, and then he calls him and is like, what the fuck happened after he sees the episode? And he's like, hey, we had to edit it. It came from the top. I'm sorry. He has...
Imagine negotiating with a 3-year-old.
I know, right? So he does negotiate with the 3-year-old, and the deal he makes is, I'll get your mom a role in my little indie movie if you will be in it too. So he agrees to that. He's on set. His sister's there, and she's whining like a brat over the fact that their mom doesn't get to do as much as she wants her to. And then this girl shows up, this red-haired little princess. I'm going to look up her name.
I bet we'll never see her again.
Yeah, no, she's like immediately obviously going to be one of the main characters. But she's sort of haughty. I won't say she's a brat per se. Her name is Kana. Kana shows up and she's basically like, I'm a legit actress and this is a legit set and you people just got... you people are here for bullshit reasons and I don't think you're good actors, and fuck all y'all.
She's like, you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right?
Yes.
Do you remember when he shows up to like a real Western TV set to play the bad guy, and then there's like a little girl,
yeah.
and she's like taking her lines way more, like she's taking the whole thing way more seriously than he is. This is basically that girl.
Accurate, yeah. She's that type of, she's really serious about what she's doing, and she gets super
Which you
upstage.
all should be.
Yeah.
Everything you do it with your whole ass.
So this kid, this is where, and man, this manga, this story.
Did you read this manga?
No, it's so specific, again, with like what it's trying to say, what it's trying to portray in the industry. You could be forgiven if you're watching this right now and you're still like, what the fuck is this show about? Like, what is the point? Where is this going? A lot of where it's going is going to involve the fact that this kid, Aqua, can act. And the reason he can act is that he is very good at understanding the expectations of the staff. He knows why the director wants him to be there and what the director is expecting of him. And this is basically his Batman superpower. This is going to be mega important, that he can read the intentions of staff and therefore deliver the product they want. In this case, he doesn't really need to act. He's just a creepy kid who can talk too well. And that's all the director's looking for. And so it's so natural and it comes out so well. It like sends fucking Kana into like a hissy fit.
And we get about 10 minutes of him doing this.
Yeah, it's a lot of inner monologue about exactly what the logic is behind why this is so perfect and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot. It is a lot. Mostly, I think part of my impatience with this show is that I do work in entertainment, so I know most of this shit about the industry. Like, why are you giving me this look? I can't continue if you're gonna give me a look that's like, you don't work in the entertainment industry.
I'm ragging on my fiance. She said, I do work in entertainment, and so I had to like squint at her.
Are you trying to say I don't do work in entertainment,
No,
and that it wouldn't affect why I understand this show and why I think it is often just kind of like pedantically going over information you should just
No, you know more than I ever
know.
could about this. I just thought it would be funny if I did that and squinted at you.
Nobody can see that. It's a non-visual medium.
And that's why I've explained.
This is
someday.
Somewhere in the middle of all this shit that's going on. This episode is so fucking long.
She's pretending she was a grown woman.
There are so many scenes, so many random interstitials, and just like little bits of dialogue to establish crap. In this part, he is trying to figure out if she was a kid or an adult, and she lies and says that she was a grown woman because she thinks it will affect the power dynamic between them if he thinks that he's older than her. Which is the only reason he hasn't figured out who she is. Because he even kind of suspected that it could be that girl.
Yeah.
But at this point, she has pretty much put it out of his mind. And that's why he's not going to figure it out. So, I'm getting towards the back end of this first episode. And this is...
Hallelujah.
Probably the best scene in that...
This scene... I'm sorry. It is wonderful. I hate it.
Interesting. Well, up until this point, Ai is basically presented as a hopeless mom. Like, she couldn't take care of these kids by herself. If it wasn't for the fact that the producer and his wife were helping out, then she'd be fucked. But she tries her best. She tries to be around for them and stuff. And the scene that we get where she's finally really becoming a mom is... Her daughter wants to learn to dance. She's in the studio, she's got a tutu on, she's practicing, but she keeps falling over all the time. And her mom, in observing her, is like, you seem like you're just always ready to fall. So she remembers how back in her old life, because she was sickly, she was literally falling all the time, and so she had learned to just kind of brace herself for that. But her mom's like, hey, being herself a dancer and obviously knowing, says... if you have the mentality that you're going to fall, you're going to fall.
Is this the reaction she has to the pageant, or? Not a pageant, but like she has a dance show.
This is just the daughter dancing in a studio. Like, they're just practicing. They're just kind of hanging out. And, yeah, she just, like, observes this pattern and is like, hey, if you change this, you'll be able to dance good, and it's a cute little bonding experience. So then also it starts to come up that she wants to reconnect with the father of the children because they don't know who it is, and the daughter has just assumed that it was a virgin conception.
Which you had also guessed might be a thing.
You know, I'm glad it came up. I'm glad it was addressed because otherwise I would have had it in my mind as a possibility if it wasn't directly made reference to. So, okay, if I had to summarize all my problems with Oshi no Ko in one screen cap, it's this one.
If I were to utter those words and realize I was in fact lying, what words?
I love you. She has,
right, okay, we're here, okay.
She has never said I love you to her children.
And they're like 3 or 4 at this point. Are
at
you
least
fucking kidding me?
So, the idea here is...
I could see not saying I love you for like a year and a half or 2. But past that point, it's a little ridiculous.
I has never experienced real love.
Because, like, as long as you're showing the concept of love up until that point, they're going to understand that. And then, you know, once you're trying to get them to understand words, you can start to say I love you and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
Her mentality has been, I don't know what love is. I don't know if I can experience it.
I know what love is.
What is that?
Baby, don't hurt me.
Oh, yeah, that's right. If I were to...
No more.
She's never said I love you to anybody, and if she ever said it to her kids and realized that she was lying, then she would hate herself and she would never be able to live with it. This is the stupidest fucking shit in the world. Fuck you, fuck yourself. Just say I love you to your kids. They're the ones who need to hear it, not you. It's not about you. This is stupid. I hate this type
Beatrice,
of thinking.
she never had a family.
I get it. I get that it's not that it's not that it's poor.
She doesn't know what love really is.
It's not that it's logically poor characterization. It's just stupid. It's just the kind of thing that makes me go, oh, you're stupid. You know, you're a stupid, unlikable character that I wish was different. You know, I hate this kind of edgy, way too emotional, way too lofty, like putting too much stock into words and what the words mean. Words don't mean anything. Words are just symbol. It's just gestures. Like, I don't know. This embodies what about this show, like what about its personality is different from mine. It's not even that I wouldn't think something stupid like this or do something stupid like this. I just hate it. And I hate when it's celebrated or treated like something cool or edgy or interesting for a character to be like, yeah, I never said I love you because what if I was lying and I couldn't live with myself? So that she can have a dramatic moment of saying I love you for the first time when she gets stabbed, obviously.
Well, it's not... Is this when she's getting stabbed?
She's gonna soon. And this is like... By this point
is
in
like
the
right
episode,
before she gets stabbed.
I had been spoiled to it before I saw this part in the episode. So when this dialogue came up, I was just like... Really? She's never said I love you until she's about to die. They had to throw that in there. Like, come the fuck on. That bothered me. It's just too much. It's trying too hard. You already did enough. You established characters.
More like Oshi no storytelling.
Arcs and motivations. We learned a lot about this woman over the course of this episode. Oshi no storytelling.
Yeah, I don't know. I, having not spoiled myself for this, thought she was going to be a major character and it was going to be like raising idols as an idol type show, which I would have been.
Would have been something.
And then it did this.
Yeah, she opens the door one day and
guy's got a bunch of flowers. She's stunned by the flowers and she's thanking him for him. She's thanking him for the flowers, and then he's stabbing her. He just stabs her.
Yeah, he screams like...
Also, coincidentally, this is the same guy that pushed the Doctor Man off the cliff. Aquamarine now. But
he murdered him, and now he's coming for her. He's a super fan who's gone insane because she had kids, and now she's a slut or whatever. Obviously, this show is heavily inspired by real world, trouble that idols have run into with stalkers, and especially people who won't let them have a normal life, have kids, have a family, and stuff like that.
But so basically, stalker stabs I, and there's about a minute or two of like, oh my god, I has just been
holy
stabbed.
shit. She rants at him about
and she
how
goes,
it's totally my fault.
It's totally my fault. I misled you. Blah blah blah.
I am a liar and a slut, and
well, it's not.
Even now,
I'm a liar, but I was doing it because I thought that was the best thing to do to make people happy.
Yeah.
This is a convoluted show.
She manages to be incredibly sympathetic to the man who has just stabbed her in the guts.
Yeah, I remember when we watched the scene and she was doing all this, you were like, if someone just stabbed me in the guts, I'd be... And rather, it was, if someone just stabbed me in the guts and I knew them, I would just be fucking screaming like, are you fucking kidding me, you motherfucker? You just fucking did that? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a ridiculous scene. She dies. It's pretty. It's heart wrenching.
Yeah.
There's lots of good images. I like
that
this.
Is a bad screenshot.
This is a great face of death.
No, because it's...
That's just how it be. It's just like that.
Really?
Well, all my screen caps are a little lossy because I have not high quality screen caps. But yeah, it's I like this face. She's a cute corpse.
It is very reminiscent of another, so I like it.
And afterwards, there's all these people on the internet saying things like, well, it's to be expected if she went and had, an affair and all this stuff, and the daughter's just fucking pissed and, like, screaming.
And also, Aquamarine, the son, held the daughter back from seeing any of their mom being dead bullshit.
This scene did get to me a little bit, because it is real. There are really people
Internet
who say
hate
shit
is
like
a
this.
problem.
Yeah, I was like, man, she's right. It's fucked up what these people do, and the justifications that they give because they don't want to face the reality of how fucked up what's happening.
I may bully people in Overwatch 2 custom lobbies, but I would never support bullying in any real context.
So, what is the actual plot of Oshi no Ko now that we have reached the end of the 80-minute first episode?
I'm going to be honest.
You don't remember?
I don't know.
So, here's what happens. The mom is stabbed by the stalker. The stalker immediately kills himself afterwards. But...
I'm going to rephrase my statement. I do know. But if I was someone who didn't know, who didn't look all of this stuff up, just based on this 80 minutes...
You still wouldn't be sure what it
I would have no idea what
going.
the fuck was going on at all.
It took really the next few episodes coming out before it was completely clear what this show is. But yeah, the point of it is that someone gave Stalker Guy the information. He shouldn't have known...
probably their dad.
He shouldn't have known her real name. He shouldn't have known her house. Maybe it's their dad. Maybe it's somebody else. We're going to find him and kill him. And that's the point. It is a murder revenge plot at the heart of it. That is the real point of this story.
You need to make an AMV of Ready to Die, but with this show.
I don't need to do that. Somebody does.
Well, I wasn't talking to you.
Okay, I see. So, episode 2, Oshi no Ko. This show...
Fuck. How many episodes of this do we
There
have?
are 4. And I will say, there is a lot less to say about the next 3 episodes.
Sorry, I know I said fuck like that. It's literally, the first one was 90 minutes.
Yeah. And it was also, it's not just that it was extra long, but it was extra dense, too. Like, these next 3 episodes, way less happens. There's still a fuckload of dialogue, but it's so much of it is dedicated just to explaining how, like, industry shit works that it really slows to kind of a crawl, especially by, like, episode 3. So, yeah, like, in the same way that The first episode got me kind of excited, mostly because so many twists and turns happened. It was so dense. It covered such a large amount of time.
The second episode sucks.
The next 3 are not amazing. I mean, episode 4 is all right, but like, it's.
Well, the second episode just kind of nothing happens. The third and fourth episode stuff does happen. They're starting to, or rather, Aquamarine is starting to establish himself.
Well, we're gonna go through all of it. So, the sister really wants to be an idol. She applies to an idol group and gets rejected. And the reason is... Sorry, did you want
No, you go.
The reason she's rejected is that her brother is secretly fucking with everything behind the scenes. He's sending her fake emails, giving her fake phone calls.
I didn't catch that. That's really funny.
He is just cock-blocking her from being an idol, which is the only thing she
Because he
wants
doesn't want
to do.
her to meet the same fate his mom did.
Yeah. So, and I didn't screen cap this, but at the end of the first episode, he asks the director guy if he can go live with him. So basically, the daughter has been raised by...
Will you raise me? He says, will you raise me?
The daughter's been mostly raised by the wife of the producer, and he has mostly been raised by this director. But the director also just kind of lives at home with his mom and hasn't really accomplished much of significance himself.
And the director's also trying to get him to, like, no, act. Please act.
Yes, he really wants this kid to
Please
act. And he also thinks that he probably should just let his sister be an idol, but, he's just like, nah, fuck you. I'm absolutely not letting her do that. But she keeps pursuing it anyway. So at some point she finds out about an underground idol agency that she wants to join. And
so he shows up to the interview, which is not good.
No, he interviews... Basically, so...
He interviews one of the girls that is signed with the...
Yes. Yeah. He lures one of them to his agency, which, Strawberry Productions is the group that his mom had been working for. It's technically not active right now.
His now mom is the, lead of.
Yes.
The corporate structures in this world are very strange.
They are odd, but yeah, it's not really clear if Strawberry Pro is doing anything. They're talking about doing something, but anyways, they use their clout to investigate this girl from a rival agency. She spills the beans. Everything there sucks. They're desperately grabbing for more people. They of course are like, well, she's a snake for saying all this, so we're not hiring her either. It's mostly just to be, again, cynical, showing us how the idol industry is fucked up in certain ways. They decide, fuck it, if she's not going to give up on being an idol, we will just contract her ourselves and be her manager. If you pull anything, we will sue you. We are dead serious. So yeah, they signed her up as an idol with Strawberry Pro.
I'll sue you.
And
yes, I'm gonna sue you. Sue. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. Do you know what I'm doing?
No, I have no idea.
It's a Weird Al Yankovic heavy metal song about suing people.
So he decides, he's like, I don't really want to be in front of the camera. All I care about is getting into the industry enough that I can find out who the guy is that had connections to murdering my mom. He doesn't care about anything else. I'll just be a director, AD, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But basically, because of the fact that the sister wants to be an idol, they enroll... or they are applying at the end of this episode to be in a special school for celebrity kids.
And so sister applies for the school, and the brother could apply for literally a way better school, but he wants to watch out for his sister, so he applies for the same school.
Yep.
Sister applies for the arts programs, and brother does not, even though brother is literally the one who's going to have the better arts career.
Kana is all excited because they're at her school. Wow, she goes there. It's the girl, remember her when you grew up?
No,
she was in that movie with you?
Yes, I remember her.
Yeah, so apparently it's been a while since she's really been relevant in the industry. The director, crucifies her.
But now she's the female lead in a show.
It's true. She has got a new show. But yeah, her career has not really been the same as it was when she was a kid. We'll learn a lot about that. Also... Oh, I guess we're in episode 3 now.
Oh, man.
It's fucking...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Is this the last anime that we have to cover multiple episodes
yes.
of? Fuck, thank God. Sorry.
So, he is... Aqua has been trying to crack into his mom's second phone.
So, Well, and it's not even that. It's even a flashback at this point because we're in like the teenager age of Aqua.
Well, he spent like years
So-
entering codes.
Aqua. Yeah, no, you're right. He spent years and years and years. I think he got the phones right after his mom died, but you know, he was a doctor. He retains all those memories as far as I am aware. So he just spent years and years and years. I think 48,019
Attempts.
entries.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think he was just entering,
Just different strings of numbers until he got the right one. And then he found a name in there.
I literally think it was like 0001. 0002.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Strings of numbers. So he cracked it. He found a name in the phone, and he happens to hear that name come from Kana as one of the people working on the show.
And so he says, yeah, I'll act.
Yeah, sneak me into your show, and I need to investigate this shit. So they check out the show, and it's based on a very popular manga.
Sucks.
Yeah,
the show is bad.
It's a shitty live-action adaptation.
It's almost like, and I'm giving the manga of this a little bit too much credit with this comparison, Dead Mount Death Play. Which is to say, I really hope the manga of Dead Mount Death Play is really good. And the anime is doing a bad job.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Like it's a
Though,
bad adaptation.
again, as I mentioned earlier,
We haven't read the manga, we have no idea.
I really liked this week's episode of Dead Mount Death Play, which was shocking.
The dude has money, couldn't he hire a hacker or something? He was a child. I don't think he had any money.
He's smart, but you can only have so many resources. I would say it's like...
Yeah.
I first started getting, like, real money for holidays and tooth fairies and shit at probably 5.
I love this comment. Imagine wearing a shirt that says twins on it.
That is true, yeah.
But yeah, so the show sucks, mostly for casting reasons. And then, this is something...
Not this show, but the show they're working on.
Yeah.
That is worth noting because it's very meta.
Well, and this... I feel so bad for the actress who plays Kana. Because this is not something you should do to an actress.
No.
Oshi no Ko, you have a lot to say about
this
what you
show
should
is
do
not
to actors.
something you shouldn't do to anyone who's working on it.
No, especially not with all the eyes. They're literally murdering animators by making those eyes so complicated. But yet this section of the episode, Kana talks for almost 10 unbroken minutes. And as a voice actor, if you have to give a monologue that long, and you're basically just giving a bunch of exposition, inevitably...
You have to know that the people that are watching the show are looking at Facebook Marketplace.
Well, it inevitably leads to monotone. Like, you cannot be...
It's hard to keep up the voice the whole time.
You just can't give an emotive, exciting performance for 10 straight minutes. It's a monologue. She just has way too much to say. They gave this character, because she has to talk about her whole backstory and how the industry interacts with that and all this shit. They're sitting in a karaoke booth just talking for ever. And then it's not enough that they have a long conversation in the karaoke booth, but then he shows up to set, and after meeting the people on set, she gives another 5-minute whole speech about her feelings and how nice it is that there's somebody in a similar position to her, and it's just...
But so also, she gives the long speech, but either right before or right after this, the director mentions, we don't have time to rehearse this, so you get a dry run and then you get the recording run. That's all you get.
Yeah.
And so they do the recording. It's raining, which sucks, I guess. And then the episode kind of ends. The raining sucks.
Yeah, the guy who sucks on the show is complaining because his hair is all frizzy.
Oh, and that's another important point to raise. The show sucks. Yeah. Everyone else except for the main girl
is bad.
Is really, really bad at it. It's based on a very good manga that both the main girl and the main character have read, and they are...
Yeah, everybody loves the manga, and this is they're currently about to film the most famous scene, the climactic scene.
Well, the manga's... rather, the show, it's like... Some Like It Mild.
Yeah, that's the name of
something like that.
The show.
And it's like a girl who just is allergic to a lot of things, I think.
the plot sounds incredibly stupid whenever they describe it. It's like, who would watch this?
How about Oshi no?
They're recording on set, and Aqua's doing his fucking Batman thing where he's like, the lighting, the camera angles. If I account for everything, I know.
I would say
can
he's
deliver.
doing the Bane thing. Of that is, I was born in the acting. You were simply raised in it, molded by it.
So yeah, he tries to act really creepy, and he also sets off Actor Boy by like telling him that he kind of looks like shit. So
he gets
like,
Actor Boy to act better.
Yeah,
he gets the best performances out of everyone there, and I think that's really cool.
So much so that after the scene is over, we cut away to the manga author of Some Like It Mild.
This was a really cute scene. I liked this.
I hate this scene.
Really?
Here's why. It's so extra. Because, again, this show, it's sort of like trying to avenge all of like the stuff that bothers the author about the industry, I feel like. Like, here's a bunch of stuff that makes it suck for the people who do it, and here's how it could have been avenged. And it's like, this whole scene is like her and her assistants are all talking about how the show has sucked and how it's such a shame, and everyone warned them when you get a manga adaptation you're gonna hate it and blah blah blah. But then she sees that scene and it makes her cry, and she's like, oh, I'm so happy I got an anime adaptation. Oh, isn't that nice? We vindicated the manga author who was not a fucking character until now at all. Like, what? It was just such a thing.
Look, I thought it was a really sweet scene because you had not liked the show up until the final episode.
It's a cute
where everyone
idea.
acted their asses off.
I just felt like it wasn't earned. I think this author should have been a character beforehand. We should have already known that she didn't like the anime before this scene, so that it's not just introducing her and the fact that the anime sucks and the fact that she's okay with it now. Maybe she'll be a character later. It's hard to say. Basically, later in this episode,
she will be a character later.
She compliments Kana when they meet at like the big get together where everybody who worked on the show is, and she thanks her and it's like, you saved the show, and Kana cries, and character growth. It's not even really growth so much as like she's having a good time, I guess is the way I'd put it. This is the dude who he got involved in the show in order to reach, and that guy's like, why don't you join my reality dating show? And he's like, yes, one more step up.
Because in the phone he hacked after 41,000 different tries.
Yeah. That
was the number that was left over.
Yeah. So then...
Oh shit, it's Chica. I can't wait to do the Chica dance.
There's the end of episode 4 really just kind of cuts back to the school and introduces a couple more characters we've kind of just left the girl's plot line totally alone since episode 2. Like, she had this whole thing of trying to get into an agency.
There's a girl in this show?
And then like 2 whole episodes it was Aquamarine and fucking what's her name, Rika, like doing their own thing.
Well, because
Kana, that's her name, not Rika.
Ultimately, I think this show is just going to be Aquamarine trying to find his mother's killer. I think that's all it's going to be. It's
just weird that they had this whole idol other subplot that obviously is supposed to matter, and it hasn't really amounted to anything yet.
I think that's going to be 90% of the show, is them finding roundabout ways to... Aquamarine finding roundabout ways to try and kill his dad.
So anyway, there's this big titty girl who sits next to her in class that she's like Googling. She has a Kansai accent.
She's a pin-up girl.
They become friends. It's whatever.
Kansai accent, for those of you that don't know, means redneck.
And then this girl's name is Frill, and she's apparently like a big-time actress who the girl is a big fan of. She recognizes Aquamarine because she just knows everything. She's super plugged in, and she says to the sister, like, oh, you're not anything? Well,
who are you?
Good luck, I guess. And that's it. That's Oshi no Ko. Again, there was like a scene that, like, the whole thing with the Batman on set, like, that to me is the show. Like, conceptually, Oshi no Ko is about this guy whose mom was murdered, who is using his expertise and knowledge in like recognizing what people want from him as an entertainer to work his way through the industry and find the man responsible for her death to get revenge. That's the core narrative. But then you've got this sort of romantic, emotional thing he's got going on with Kata, who's, you know, it's sort of one-sided because she's really obsessed with him and he's not really that interested in her. You've got the sister and her whole idol pursuit thing. You've got, you know, I guess a lot of what was established in the first episode was mostly just to characterize Ai before she was gone, which it does a lot to make us understand why the characters care about her so much and, you know, to have her shadow kind of cast over the show. But it also feels weird because now she's gone and you've kind of got this gap where, like, so much of the development had to do with her. And now it's just kind of what she handed down to her children, and their development is so much slower. You know, like, now we're just in the story. The first part felt like a complete story in and of itself. This one feels like it's at the very foothills of a beginning of a story, and like it's going to take a eternity to climb the rest of that hill. And I don't know how interesting that's going to be the whole way, especially when so much of it is just characters like explaining their lives and who they are, and like, you know, particularly like when Kana was just going on and on and on about her career and everything. It's like the epitome of tell not show storytelling, the epitome of like, you know, we are not learning anything naturally, we're just being told information constantly to a way that almost makes it feel like we are in school.
You know, I'm gonna be honest, this show's fine. I just got up to use the restroom and I could not remember what show we were talking about.
It is getting late.
Well, no, it's not about that. No, it's literally this show, like, you really have to be invested in it.
Yes, because there's so much going on conceptually,
and a lot of it's really not interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm left. Like, for me, this show is like a 7 out of 10. And
I'd actually rate it like 4.
Wow, damn. I mean, I understand. I think it could get that
low for me. It had a really strong start. The first episode, I would say, is like an 8 out of 10, but then the next couple episodes were like really low. I didn't enjoy them.
I appreciated the first episode even more when I went back through it and just realized how dense it is and how, like, everything I remembered from the show, except for, like, how that, you know, episode 4, like, how he resolved that situation. Everything else that's memorable about the show happened in the first episode. Nothing in episode 2 or 3 was particularly memorable or interesting or grabbing or makes me think this would be a good show. If not for what happened in the first episode, it would not be interesting at all. 4 was, again, okay, but then it kind of peters out and it's introducing these new characters I'm not interested in. It's not really hooking into a new story arc or anything.
There's no real powers or power scaling or understanding of what's going to happen.
Yeah, so it's...
I would place this in the same place I do... What is it? Heavenly Delusion? Heavenly Delusion is in that I just don't know where it's going to go.
It's that weird space where it could, if it somehow justifies all of its mysteries with great payoffs, then you'll be like, wow, that was an amazing show. But more likely what's going to happen is you'll get these weird, limp, kind of boring explanations that'll make you go... Oh, was that all it was? You know? And
so my optimistic predictions is at best it could be a 7. At worst it can go to a 3.
Yeah, I would say, based on the first episode, I would have considered it like a strong 7 to a light 8. There was a lot of stuff that was really interesting and really unique, and also a lot of stuff that was baffling and weird and silly and just too much dialogue that bored me. And unfortunately, going through episodes 2, 3, and 4, a lot more of the stuff that was boring and uninteresting to me about the show is what I got more of, as opposed to the stuff that was weird and creative and, you know, and somewhat intriguing. I don't hate the idea of, like, actor Batman using his superior, you know, ability to understand what people want from him to move to the industry, but it's not that cool. And... I don't know. I don't see this having some kind of big payoff that's going to ever be as interesting as watching the mom die. Like, that's probably the pinnacle
That's the biggest
of the
payoff.
story. Yeah, so it's hard to imagine anything ever being as interesting or cool as that first episode from this. I've made the argument before. I really think that premise is by far the most important thing to making an anime popular. If you can hook people with a strong first couple episodes, the rest of it almost doesn't matter. Sword Art Online is good for like 2 episodes, and then it's just kind of dog shit forever. There's some shows that do deliver on their premise. Attack on Titan's a show that I would not have expected to deliver on its premise that actually got more interesting.
I'm really
and got
happy
cool.
with where it's gone.
But that was one where in the initial stages, it's like, are any of these?
It's coming.
It just kept introducing questions, and you never knew if they were going to have interesting answers until you got to the answers. And some of them are. Some of them are. They did a pretty good job with that one. All right, that's enough about Oshi no Ko. We're talking about Oshi no Ko is the most frustrating anime to me, and it's not that I hate it.
I don't know how to feel watching this show.
Oh,
it never... It's so many mixed emotions all at once, and there also needs to be, like, at least one more girl character.
I mean, they introduced a few that they just haven't done anything with at all yet. Like, or who've gotten, like, one scene, and then we don't know anything else about them. It kind of feels like, why bother introducing them so early if they're not going to be doing anything yet? It just, like... The show is so scattershot with its ideas and what it decides to bring into the fold. And the more I think about it, the more I, like, question it or, like, feel... Like, question the reality of it. Just feel like, Like, for instance, this girl,
What is her name?
I keep forgetting. Ruby. Yeah, because their
Ruby
names
and
are Ruby and
Aqua.
Sapphire, right? Or no,
Aqua.
they're not Pokemon. Ruby and Aquamarine. Ruby here... it occurred to me at some point, like, what the fuck has she been doing all this
The whole time? Like,
yeah.
just going to school, kind of?
Like,
we saw a little bit of that. Oh, you mean, like, the whole time when her brother has been, like, tracking a killer.
We know what he's been doing is, like, being Batman. I guess she's just been trying to sign up to be an idol over and over again for, like, 6 years or something.
That seems to be the case.
I just felt like, I don't know, does she not have a social life? Does she not have... Like it feels as though the writer just wanted, like, the story to start up again when they are going into high school, and then just kind of suggested that, like, yeah, and nothing really happened for 6 years, except that, like, I don't know, Sapphire sat hacking on his phone over and over and over again every day.
Hacking on Ai's phone.
Yeah, I feel like I have some sense of, okay, he feels like a consistent character. Like, I understand what he did for 6 years. Her, I just don't get it. Like, what has she been? She just feels so vapid and empty. Like, she's no personality other than I want to be an idol very badly.
She's following in her mother/mentor's footsteps.
Yeah.
She's got to do what I did. She's got to be even better than I. But Aqua does not like this. But so this episode starts with... the last episode kind of left off with her finally making moves on starting her idol group.
Yeah.
And so this episode begins with, I guess, her talking about how much she knows about idols because she's been a fan forever.
Yeah, she thinks that Kana would make a perfect idol, especially for otaku, because of the fact that... she's got all this expertise. She's just been, like, watching her, and she's like, she's beautiful, she's got the right personality, she's definitely idol material, she's basically stalking her.
Yeah.
It's just odd to me, like, I don't know, I don't know if she's the only girl that she considers to be idol material like this that's in the school. It's odd to me that she would fixate on somebody she doesn't get along with and doesn't think would want to do this, but it's just like, but she might be the one.
But she's cute, and she knows how to act, so why not? It might work.
Maybe. So, her biggest problem, her biggest roadblock is, like, isn't she kind of obnoxious towards me? It's like, well,
Yeah, but
You're kind of obnoxious towards her, so I don't know what you're expecting. Like,
so she's, or I don't know, is it Aqua suggesting that Hana, or Kana? Kana's her name, right?
Kana is the red hair.
Is it Aqua suggesting that Kana should be part of the idol group, or did Ruby get this idea all by herself?
Ruby just all by herself concluded, Kana is a perfect idol. I should probably have her in my group, but I kind of hate her, so I don't know if I should go through with it. Then we have a scene where Kana's just kind of chilling in class and reading reviews of the show, like the last episode on the internet.
Yeah.
And seeing all these people who are talking about how even though that stalker guy was creepy and all,
He was kind of cute.
yeah,
though.
he was kind of good looking, and she starts remembering him, and she's getting kind of flustered about it. And then she gets a text from him that's like, "Hey, you should meet me after school." And she's like, "Oh shit, what if he's gonna ask me out?" So she's getting herself all pampered up, ready to go. Ooh la la. But turns out he invited his sister. They're both there, and she immediately is like, "Yeah, I'm busy. You've got 20 seconds. Like,
This isn't a date.
this isn't what I was signed up for. I really can't stand your sister. Fuck you guys." I don't know. This is like mildly funny, I guess. It didn't really get a laugh out of me or anything because the show, it really belabors every point that it makes. The characters speak in whole paragraphs every time, and I know it's a little ironic to say that on a show that is just talking. I realize that we are speaking in full paragraphs right here, right now, but this is a mostly audio medium of just unbroken radio discussion. It's just watching it in an anime. This show, it feels to me like a radio program that has just had pictures put over it, especially when they get like the really emotional music going and stuff, and like they're kind of timing the dialogue out to the music, and like, yeah, it just feels like I'm listening to something that would be exactly as meaningful without the visuals. The visuals just add, I don't know, I guess a little bit of grounding.
Oh my gosh, Strawberry Productions is working on putting together an idol group.
Yeah, so she's asking Kana to join her idol group. And I'll say, so I've seen some contention about the character designs in this show. How do you feel about just the overall looks and designs of this show? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
I've heard someone say that they're literally killing animators with the eye designs on Oshi no Ko.
There are articles out there about how, like, the amount of detail that's being put into anime eyes, and especially like idol anime, like, it's incredibly taxing because it takes a long time for the computer to even render all the layers of like effects that they're doing and shit. So yeah, it's supposedly one of the like most like one of the ways that new technology has most made things worse for animators while making them, I guess, look better. But I've never been a fan of these like ridiculous.
This show has a lot of
eyes.
pretty funny eyes.
They look goofy to me a lot of the time. But like, so I've seen some debate about the artwork in this show. We have a friend.
I think it looks fine. I'd say like a 7 out of 10.
Our friend Butthole Weeb was like, "These are the worst character designs I've ever seen." I do not agree with that stance. I've seen much worse.
He dropped the show harder than his balls when he turned 13 or something.
Yeah,
I believe those were his words.
He says that a lot. He says that about every show he dropped, actually. He only dropped shows
is
exactly
quite
that
a lot
hard.
of shows.
Yeah. So I think this show, moments like this, where it uses the really aesthetic lighting, and I like the way they have like the broken line work that kind of gives it this wavy, emotional look with all these little highlights in there. I think the facial expressions are usually pretty well done, regardless of the character designs being kind of bland and just average. With some exceptions, like Frill looks really different. She's got like weird alien eyes and shit.
Frill,
the like actress at their school.
Yeah,
she hasn't come up again like at all. Yeah, that's an example of the character.
She's in this episode, isn't she?
I think she might make a appearance in an image or something, get mentioned maybe. But yeah, like there's a YouTube video by somebody, I think it was Kito Senpai, about the character designer for this show, and how like they're just this absurd workhorse of a person who like animation checked every single frame of the shows that she's worked on, and basically was asked like, what manga do you want to make into an anime, and she said this, and that's how we got this. So that's there's more detail in that video about it, but you know, I appreciate the effort that has gone into making this show look, you know, very broadly appealing and palatable and selling certain emotional moments. I loved the scene where the mom died. It looked great.
It did look very good.
So yeah, like, I'll compliment a moment like this on its visuals overall, but
You know, if you were in that scene, you'd be taking a sun pic right now.
it's true. I would be taking a photograph of the sun if I was here.
If I become an idol, I'll lose out on jobs reserved for young actors because Kana is constantly clinging to the hope that she will get to act again one day.
Yeah.
Which she might. I'm not saying she won't, but it's not going well for her. She's not getting a lot of roles since that show ended. So she needs to get her name out there.
This is another one of those scenes where it's like she has to give like 18 reasons for why she can't be an idol. Like, she lists out all of this stuff, and they're like, but of course the last one is the one they fixate on. She says, and you know, I'm not cute enough to be an idol anyways. And they're like, oh, but you're cute.
Adorable.
We both think you're cute, in fact. And she's also thinking about how she knows that it's possible for Ruby to have, like,
the same success that I did.
yeah, because she's like, I only worked with I once, but she was the real deal, and I see a lot of her in her daughter. So I can understand how this could be possible, but I don't really want to do it. So then we've got
Aquamarine on his knees to Kana saying, please be an idol with my sister.
This scene is... So this is the first scene in this episode that's, like, legitimately aggravating.
It's pretty tough. He is worried... So, you know, his mom was killed as an idol, and he's worried about creeps like that. So he needs someone that he trusts to be around Ruby all the time while she's idling it up.
Yeah. I don't mind his reasoning so much. It's more the way that he persuades her, which is to say, he says, please be an idol, and she says, no. And then he gets closer and's like, please do it. And she's like, no. And, like, he's like, come on. And she's like, no, like, more flustered. And then it just kind of black screens, and then they're in the idol agency, and she's just sitting there, like, full of guilt, like, why am I here? And I'm like, what? Okay, so...
What happened? How did they get there?
Did he just keep saying it until he broke her? This is,
I mean, he can be pretty intimidating.
Well,
maybe his eye got really dark while he was saying it.
Is there a phrase for intellectual assault? Like...
Gaslighting?
I don't know if it's... I mean, he's not trying to convince her anything. He's
trying to convince her to be an
mind
idol.
break.
Mind break.
I don't know. He just wouldn't stop until she said yes.
Non-consensual idol behavior?
It was definitely... The funny thing about this is, in the next show we're going to talk about, there is a kind of similar scene that is actually way more raunchy and wild, and it was way funnier because contextually it made sense for like what was transpiring between the characters was set up by the entire episode, and it was like, yeah, okay, this is a great character beat that changes the nature of the relationship of those two characters in a fun way. This scene keep saying please question mark profit, and then we're just in the next scene. Like, what does this tell us about the characters other than he's a real persistent asshole and she gave in? I don't know. It kind of made me sad. I was just like, doesn't make me happy about her idol career that she just kind of gave in because he wouldn't stop.
I think he might call her cute or something to really win her over.
He called her cute before that, though.
Okay.
Like, the way the scene ends is literally him, like, please no, please no, please no, black screen, and she's in the studio. Welcome
to Strawberry Productions. We'll give you a warm reception.
Cuts right to this, and they're like...
She's literally, like, crying.
She's holding her
now.
seal, so she has just put her seal on the fucking thing already, and yeah.
I want to have a seal.
Bad writing. Not funny. It just
Oh right, after she signs it, she says she needs a shot in the arm of some type. And
Yeah.
I don't know what she means by that.
She's saying her career needs some kind of jolt. She's like,
Oh.
the fact of the matter is, whether she wants any kind of work or not, she's not getting any work. So if there's anything she could do, it might be worth trying. Is the justification she's giving herself for having gotten bullied into doing this.
Well, and Strawberry Productions is a very famous idol producer.
Yeah, though she doesn't really, like, Kana doesn't really believe in this yet. Even though she has signed up for it, it's going to take a while before she thinks that there's anything really going on here.
Yuki Sumi. I don't quite remember this girl. I think
okay.
she's been in the earlier episodes, right?
No, this is actually the first shot that she's introduced.
Is she in the TV show?
Yes.
Okay.
So we cut to, this is, the way this scene is framed is interesting because, at the end of the previous episode, we set up that Aquamarine is doing a new show with a guy whose name was in his mom's locked phone
that he spent
found
years
out about through
trying
Kana.
to open.
Yes. And this guy explicitly tells him, well, we're going to get to this in a second, but what the guy tells him is, if you do this show, I'll tell you about the men who your mom was with. And then he's in the show. The way we're introduced to what the show is that Kana and Ruby are watching it on their laptop in Strawberry Productions with the producer mom slash adoptive mother over at her desk. And so they're watching the first episode of the show, and it's introducing all the characters, and basically it's kind of a creepy, because all the characters like first year high school students, and it's like
pretty weird.
It's like
it's a dating show.
Like influencer dating show,
well,
I
yeah, it's
guess
not The
I'd call it,
Bachelor.
or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They're
Just
all
like-
just trying to date. I think
They're
the
all
idea is
up-and-comers.
whoever's the cutest couple wins.
Something like that. It's it's just like a really vapid dating
It's
show.
a weird show.
And
throughout this, both Ruby and Kana are having panic attacks because they
Yes.
both have crushes on them or on Aqua
On-
for some reason.
I mean, I don't know if Ruby has a crush on him so much as
But
just
she's
feels-
mad that he's in a dating show.
She's just upset that her brother is acting this way. 'Cause, like, she says, isn't my brother a sulky guy who gives off a gloomy aura? Like, she's upset that he's putting on this character and trying to act like a different person. Because she sees it as he's doing this to try to pick up chicks.
I see.
And Kana is upset because she sees it like, well, how can he be okay with, like, kissing girls just for... Okay, I really hate this next... Hold on, I have to get to the next slide. This was the next thing that really fucking pissed me off.
She's crying now. Why do you ever agree to be on the show?
And she has to be told off by, like, the producer, like, yeah, he's gonna have to do, like, kiss scenes in movies and stuff, like, if he's really gonna be an actor. But, like, and I think she even says, like, you too, like... I can't believe that Kana, the character who's been super fucking serious about being a real actress, who's like, yeah, I can cry on command and all this shit, like, she doesn't know or has never thought about the idea that she'd have to do a romantic scene?
do you think maybe it's like
Come on.
jealousy that he's getting acting roles?
No, I think it's purely jealousy that she's in love with him already, and she's upset that, well, she says something to the effect of, he only called me cute when he was trying to get me to work for you.
That is true.
And meanwhile,
Maybe it's all an act.
He's calling these girls cute or on TV, right? So she feels like sort of used, and the mom has to sort of be like, guys, he's an actor. It's a show.
Have you considered he might put on a fake personality?
Yeah, like, why wouldn't he act the way that's going to win him the most screen time and be the last person on like, that's what you do when you go on TV. Again, I don't mind that there's, like, a scene explaining this, or, like, if it was just... This should have been Ruby overreacting to her brother acting this way, and then Kana explaining, like, seething through gritting teeth about how, well, he's a serious actor, so of course he's gonna have to kiss a girl, like, being upset because she understands, not because she doesn't understand, because that's not her character. So this really pissed me off.
You were very upset.
Yeah. So at this point, I would have thought I was gonna give this episode like a 4 or a 3. It has a major pickup at the end that we will get to that redeems the episode majorly, which is why I was saying that some 5 out of 10s are like, half of it was really frustrating and half of it was really good, so it lands in the middle somewhere. Because this is a show, I have to say this real quick, because, you know, I feel like I'm going really hard in on this show that I know a lot of people like. And I don't want to seem like I'm bullying it, because there's a lot of people who...
Why? You know, you should be punching up, not punching down.
Well, there's a lot of people who really hate this show because it's popular, because it's really obvious, and... you know, we went into it not knowing anything about it. So I was excited about it, thinking, look at all these high scores. And, like, it had this really
it beat
purple
Full Metal
color
Alchemist.
art.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I was excited, but then we watched it and we were kind of like, this isn't really our type of show. But it had a lot of interesting ideas, and the first episode was really dense. And then it kind of, you know, in my opinion, has been iffy ever since that point. Like, I would say the first episode I would have given like a 7 out of 10, and now we're at a point where I'm like kind of sitting at a 5 with this show. And it's just because, again, it feels like it thinks through certain things to way too much of an extent, where like characters go too far explaining certain things and going through redundancies, and then there's other stuff that it's like, well, wait, but what about every other aspect of these people's lives that we could have been learning about that would, you know, enrich them in all these different ways? And then you've got the inconsistencies in the characterization, and so it just becomes such a clusterfuck that it's hard for me to like.
Like we mentioned that the director of the show is going to tell Aqua everything about Ai, but that doesn't even come up until now.
And so this is the scene where he specifically says that he will give him the inside scoop on stuff that even the agency didn't know, including men that she's been with. And I just had to think about this, like, it would be interesting if the twist that this is building to is that Aqua, in his youth, isn't cynical enough and thought that this guy would have a lot more info than he does, and the guy's just kind of like, yeah, I don't really even know any, like, you know.
But he's probably going to know everything.
I was just using you. If that's the case, then I really have to be like, why does he... How could there be a guy who knows things that the people who were surrounding her all the time don't know? That Aqua couldn't figure out through investigation actively over years. Like, it just...
I had 3 phones. She was a real crafty bitch.
I guess so, but like, how much hours in the day is there for you to do all this shit? Like, she's watching her kids.
I mean,
she's
she doesn't
doing stuff
sleep
with
much.
Strawberry Production. She's apparently got a whole fucking sex life on the side. By the way, she had the kids when she was 16. So how many relationships had she had by then?
That is a great question, because the director does say men, like multiple guys that she'd been with.
And if she had been with other guys, did she just keep them away from her kids and the producers and everybody, and nobody knew about them? How the fuck did she get away with that? Are we going to learn all of this?
Probably, maybe.
I hope so. It's just a lot. It's a lot for me to just like kind of be okay with as the setup for what we're going forward with as the plot. So then we have this whole scene where...
This is another kind of infuriating scene, I think. I didn't enjoy this one very much, but I can't... So they're on the dating show, right?
Yeah.
They're being recorded, just milling about doing stuff, and so Aqua's talking to Suki? What's her name? Oh, whatever. You know, the model girl.
Yeah.
And the model girl just kind of... goes, I don't know what we're supposed to talk about, and then immediately reveals that she's like really meta and aware of everything, and the cameras are watching us, maybe we'll kiss sometime, and I don't know. It's
a weird conversation because she starts off talking about how she has never had a relationship before, and how, like, you know, oh, you shouldn't think that everybody just because they're a celebrity has automatically had a relationship. But then she gets all up in his face, is like, yeah, maybe if they want us to kiss, I'd do it with you. You know, cameras are on us. So yeah, he basically just concludes that you know, I guess I had screen caps of all of that stuff. He concludes that she is kind of a snake, I guess, do this. She didn't seem that manipulative.
She just kind of seemed aware of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seemed like she was inviting him to play along with her, recognizing him as somebody who also is very clearly putting on a character.
And trying to win.
It was just odd to me that he kind of was like, oh.
He just blew her up.
She's like she's like this, huh? You know, and
It's like, you're like this.
yeah,
What are you talking
exactly.
about,
It seems
dude?
like you two should get along, actually. And funnily enough,
So he goes home, and Ruby is talking to him about, we have to we have to figure out the game plan here. We have to figure out who you're going to end up being with. I looked into all of these girls and their social medias, and I think Aqua just kind of goes, that's weird. And then Ruby decides that the girl that Aqua has decided is a snake is the best candidate because she's a pure-hearted good girl. And Aqua immediately brushes her off and goes, you should really not date for a couple years. You're not a great judge of character, which is really funny.
I see, and that's a character beat I like, because I do think it's fun to set her up as somebody who, like, we have kind of seen that she doesn't seem like a good judge of character, or she just doesn't empathize with people very well, I guess. Like, the way she introduced herself to the pink-haired girl was like Googling her to her face, and she's like saying, funny. This is making me uncomfortable, and she just keeps doing it. So, like, she's definitely a bit of a bonehead, but yeah, I thought it was fun that he kind of said that to her.
Friggin' bonies.
How am I supposed to explain to my parents I'm a self-proclaimed idol with no track record? So Kana's just like, even though she signed the papers, she won't, like, pick a name for the group. She's just kind of being an emo about it. She doesn't want to have to tell her parents that she's considering herself an idol when she hasn't actually done anything yet.
It's also strange because we haven't ever seen Kana's parents before. They've never been a factor. It's not really... I don't know. But neither of them can come up with a name. I don't think they do until later in the episode, really.
This is another case where I kind of feel frustrated with her character, where it's like, she didn't strike me as the type of person who would get lazy about something she signed up to do as, like, a, professionalist. Like, I mean, granted, maybe she just can't take seriously that they're starting with picking I don't know, you need a name, right? Like, it's frustrating.
Oh, the episode is going to pick back up again.
Yeah, so
Here
this
we go.
is why this episode was able to climb up to a 5 out of 10, is because of how strong...
The mom/manager/agent of everyone basically goes, you guys have no name recognition. No one knows who you are. We need to get you some traction.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is get you on YouTube. And the girls kind of scoff at her going, how could you possibly know about YouTube? What's going on? And she goes, Strawberry Productions is actually managing 50 very high successful
Turns out there's
YouTubers.
a reason we can keep the fucking lights on in this place. And it's because we do, in fact, employ other people, such as this massive
Birdman.
Bodybuilder with a little chicken head on.
He's great.
I think he's
love
called Pyeon-chan?
That sounds right.
Pyeon-kun? Something like that? Pyeon-kun?
But so the girls have to do a collab with this guy. And at first they're kind of like, this guy couldn't possibly be popular. What's going on here? And to his face and everything.
Kind of thinks he's a pervert. She's just like, oh, gross. It's a pervert. Disgusting. And then he just comes up and goes, I bring in 100 million yen a year. And she's like, I'm sorry.
Which is $760,000, I think.
God damn. That is a lot of fucking money. That is a high-rolling YouTuber. Let me tell you, I have never made anywhere near that amount of money in my career as a YouTuber. So he's on the big side, I would say.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. So they agree to go on his program and be coached by him in how to be YouTubers. And this is a scene I really like because he asks them, what do you think you need to do to be popular on YouTube? And one says, have name recognition. And the other says, post daily uploads. And he says, but you two have neither name recognition nor the perseverance to post daily, right? And she's just like, oh, damn. But yeah, I mean, most people don't. Our friend Mint Salad posts a movie review every single day. That is fucking perseverance. 256 days, I think, running now. And I've done the daily grind a few times, just where I was like, hey, I'm going to post every fucking day. And work consumes your life.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
No, I don't think I have the perseverance to post daily, personally. But I do have the perseverance to do something like this, which is where they do Taibo for, like, do you know about Taibo?
No. I mean, it's like working out. I watched this scene.
You ever seen the it's like this, like, a strong black dude in a camo pants and a tank top and like I think he wears a beret.
Okay.
And I can't remember his goddamn name, but he did these workout tapes called Taibo, or it'd be like, a bunch of people behind him, they're doing like, action punches and stuff. It's been parodied in a bunch of anime, and it's really funny because back in the 90s, this was something they would show us like at school. Billy Blanks. They would show us Taibo, like tapes in PE in like elementary school, and then I've seen it parodied in like Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, and it seems like the bit that they're going for here. Although this type of character also just is obviously so Japan, so YouTube, so obvious. Like, it's a great bit. I do believe that this is an idea that would work.
Yeah,
and It's honestly rare in any shows or movies or anything that tries to tackle social media that it's handled believably at all. It's usually like they post a video and it just has views for no reason. So like the fact that there is some understanding of how YouTube works and what would be a success, doing a collaboration. I also love the opening monologue he gives at the start of the stream is like, he's like, am I a virtuoso who's only here for the customer? No, I am the whipped peon-kun who does whatever the company tells me.
Oh, right.
Today I'm promoting these idols because I have to, but I'm going to make them do...
Because I don't want to do it, they have to do my routine for an hour.
Yeah, they have to do a whole hour of this, which is a lot.
It starts to get really complex.
Yeah, and they're sweating it up. I thought these shots were really nice whenever they did the zoom in with them just like in the hats fucking
it was pretty fun.
Burning alive. And this is a really cute shot.
Oh yeah, so they both fall over like at an hour and 53 seconds or something, and Pyeong-kun goes, "All right, girls, introduce yourselves," while they're laying on the ground exhausted, and they go, "My name is Ruby Hoshino, and I'm a self-proclaimed idol." And then Kana goes, "My name's Kana, I don't remember my last name, and I'm a self-proclaimed idol." And then Pyeong-kun goes, "What's your name? What's your idol group's name? What are we going to call you?" And do you have a screen cap of that, or should I just say it?
Oh, I was just going to say that I need more of this this subtly sweaty, messy look. But yeah, she decides to name the idol group
Bikomachi, which is Ai's idol group name.
So this was also where... Another thing that frustrates me about this show, how has nobody figured out that they're her fucking kids yet?
Yeah, they have the same last name, and they have the Star Eyes thing.
And they've been around. They weren't hidden anymore.
They were doing
at the
idol
funeral.
dances when they were 3.
I guess everybody just has always thought that they were the producer's daughters.
That's the idea, yeah.
So maybe people just haven't questioned that. But yeah, they don't have the producer's last name. She introduces herself as Hoshino and then takes her mom's idol. So I don't know if that's the route they're about to go, is that everybody's going to find out that they're her kids.
And then maybe it will become a huge boost in views.
I don't know. There's so many loose threads and open-ended possibilities with this show of what can happen, and it's so hard for me to expect that it's going to be satisfying and have good payoffs when there are so many things that frustrate me about it. When the characters are inconsistent, when the writing doesn't fill in the gaps and really tell me about the people so I don't feel like Ruby is a person. She's just like and she feels disconnected from the little girl that we originally knew, who was had some...
She was really stubborn and really into idols and didn't take shit.
Yeah, she didn't come off as a total idiot who didn't understand people when she was in her original life.
I mean, she was only 8.
A different person to me.
She didn't have as much experience as
Maybe
Aqua.
It's the trauma. Maybe it broke her mind.
Star Eyes thing is just for us, the audience. Oh.
M says she's just a Nepo baby. That's... Oh, do we want to give a score to Oshinoko? I gave it a 5 out of 10 for this episode.
Yeah, I'd agree. 5 out of 10. The first half of this was really hard to watch, but Birdman was cool. I hope we see more of him. I don't think we will.
Moving on to the next show, which...
So, Oshinoko, we begin...
I hope this gets good again.
Yeah, it's not... There's a dating show. Wow, Aqua's on the dating show. The dating show has dating show drama. There's the idol girl, and she's kind of a bitch. And then there's this other girl with blue hair, and she's really reserved and timid. There's also the YouTuber girl who says things like sus.
That's true. That's mostly the subtitles doing that.
Sure, but I like to imagine that she says it. She's a YouTuber. She's probably played Among Us.
That's true. Since we are starting a new episode of this show now, I'm going to go ahead and once again thank our $10 backers, Last Esses, M2, Hidden Music Island, Jeremy Buergo, and True Fox 1 over on back.by. You can find all our links to support us in the description. I apologize that this episode ends up being weird. We've been already recording for 4 hours talking about Magical Destroyers. It's literally called Magical Girl, Magical Destroyers. That show is weird as shit, and it took a long time to get our feelings out about with Shabes. And now we're all dead and tired and fucked up because we're going to Oshi no Ko, and neither of us likes this show.
It's not good. I want it to get better. It's supposed to be a murder mystery. It's turning into not that.
It's so frustrating. Like, I thought Dead Mount Deathplay was the most frustrating anime this season.
I know, it's better. This week it was better than this show
It was legitimately better than Oshi no Ko this week, and like, we'll get into it. So, in the last episode, we learned that this girl on the reality TV show that our main character Aqua is a part of, she's kind of conniving. She's really just trying to put on a show, which I don't even think is a bad thing. If anything, it's the same thing Aqua's doing.
They're on a dating show. Most of them are supposed to be acting or something.
And we also learned that, like, so the episode starts with her pretending that she's going to leave the show. And everybody reacts, oh my god, you're leaving. And then, of course, as soon as cameras are off, she's like, I literally can't leave. I'm contracted to be on the show. I'm just playing up, like, you know, I really have been teased at school. I really thought about quitting, but, like, obviously I know I can't, so I just played it up for the cameras. I do think it's hard for me to say, even though on our last podcast I was like, I work in the entertainment industry. I understand things like this. At the same time, this show presents it like everyone in the entertainment industry is a fucking sociopath. Like, they all just are constantly thinking about their thoughts and what they're doing. And everybody is, like, super measured and calculated in fucking everything they do. This episode really reinforces that idea. And it's a little too meta for me. Like, I appreciate self-awareness in characters. I don't think every character in... I don't think every person in a situation can describe why they are there, what they're doing, what their intent is.
Like me right now. I couldn't explain why I'm here right now. Oh.
Money.
God.
Money is why you're here right now. This episode is mostly
right,
about...
Korean barbecue time. So they're out on the date. This is the blue-haired girl I was talking about. I think her name's Akane or something.
Bro, I have no fucking
Or no,
idea.
Akane is the other
blue?
girl.
I couldn't even have gotten that far. What is it? Gray, blue, green?
She's very
it's
lackluster as a character.
And that weirdly is kind of the point.
Yeah.
This is a weird anime episode because it's basically what the message of this episode is that there are some people in the entertainment industry who, in spite of being totally well-meaning, nice, innocent people, aren't really cut out for it in a way that will allow them to deal with actually being in it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot to say about this episode as somebody who's been famous on the internet since I was too young to drink.
And never mind.
I don't know. This is an episode that I've seen. Okay, when we talked about Oshi no Ko last week, I accidentally misattributed. I talked about a video about the voice acting in this, or no, not the voice acting even. Man, my brain is fucking full of Oshi no Ko knowledge right now. There's a video about the character designer of this show. I attributed it to a Kito senpai. It was actually made by a YouTuber called Yiman, Yiman. Both of them talk about this show. They're both huge fans. Kito senpai has been getting super emotional about this show and talking about how, like, this girl relates to real world actresses and, like, all this stuff that's really happened in the anime industry. I appreciate why this episode's going to make some people super emotional, super sad. They're going to really care because they're like, it's like real life. But I grew up on the internet. I've been on the internet since 2001.
How is cyberbullying even real?
Just close your eyes. Like, walk away. Like, we're going to get into it. Look, I don't hate this. I do hate this bitch, though. Ruby.
She's not great.
She's just power, but not cool. This is just a face Power would make.
Yeah.
In Chainsaw Man. But Power's hilarious. And this girl sucks.
She's really not funny. She doesn't add anything to the show. She's just kind of annoying.
Yeah, I thought she would be cool, but she sucks. This is actually my favorite scene in this whole episode, and it's because
he can eat fatty foods again because he's young, and it's awesome.
Straight up forgot that Aqua was originally an old guy.
Yeah, right?
How much has that shit come up at all? He was like 36 or something, like a 36-year-old gynecologist. But, like, as soon as his mom died, he became such a convincing, edgy teenager, I had totally forgotten that he wasn't just that guy.
Puberty's a strong beast.
Even when you've already been through it. With this young body, I can eat an unlimited amount of fatty meat and my stomach feels fine. I really appreciate this as somebody who gets stomach aches kind of often. I'm a small person. I can't eat as much as I think I can, or as much as I could at certain points in my youth. But the other day, I threw up a caprese pizza.
You've talked about it already. Stop bringing it up.
It's sad. On this podcast?
I don't know, but stop bringing it up.
Anyway, this scene really pissed me off because Aqua and Ruby are talking about the reality TV show that Aqua's on and speculating about how real each of the characters is. This is like a layer of abstraction that started to frustrate me because the way the scene is presented, if you can look at the screen, Aqua and Ruby are like looking up at they're chibi-fied. They're like cute little anime characters looking up at a thought cloud. And in this thought cloud, they go through every single other person that's on the show and speculate about how real each of them is being. But the way the scene is presented, it would only make sense that Aqua is telling all of this to Ruby. Like in real life, he's just telling her how he thinks about each of these people.
Because he's previously said Ruby sucks at being a judge of character.
Yeah, and only he knows these people and could say anything about this. But the way the scene's presented, each of the characters is speaking from their own perspective about themselves in this, like, shared delusion the two characters are having. This goes on for like a whole minute. Every single person he's on the show with has a segment of expressing what I guess are Aqua's interpretations of their real feelings, which obviously are their real feelings, because, you know, Aqua is just, he's just the best.
I mean, he isn't. He's the jackass.
How could he get anybody wrong? That's what's so frustrating, right? It's like, I don't know what the show's trying to tell me. Is it trying to say this is exactly how all these people are? Is this just how Aqua feels? Is this how both of them feel? Because again, it's presented like a shared delusion. Aqua's
a heavenly delusion.
Aqua's not saying any of this shit to Ruby. It's all presented. They don't move either. Neither of them blinks. It's just like a minute of two chibis staring at a thought cloud. I don't know. This scene made me irrationally angry. That's why I'm going on about it so much. Then Aqua is like on a bus.
I'm on a bus.
Seemingly alone with Blonde Girl. And basically she's like, hey, I'm the airhead on the show. I'm okay with it. This scene made me upset because literally everyone in the show is a sociopath.
Yeah.
They're all thinking way too much about what they're doing. And it's not that I don't think artists and like people in the industry think about what they're doing, but they don't do it in such a way where they're constantly explaining themselves at length to one another like this. Like,
you don't constantly explain to the people around you the inner machinations of your career and mind.
I'll even say I'm surprised how little it happens. Like, I actually do. This podcast is basically me explaining every thought I've had about anime in the last week. But, like, I went to an art school, a community college, and I was always surprised how veiled people were about what they were doing. Like, everyone was always working on something. None of them could explain it. None of them could tell you why they had the... Like, artists aren't like this. Like... I think the author of this manga, Kaguya-san, was also like this. And I liked that show a lot more because it was just funny and silly and crazy. Someone asked me because they knew that originally when I saw the first episode, I didn't like it at all and I kind of shit on it. When you and I watched it together, our relationship was more similar to the Kaguya-san characters in a way that made me connect with it and understand it more. And this show goes like as much into the characters' minds, but it's not for humor. It's totally serious. And in that show, kind of the joke was that like these two characters are so similar and they don't like, you know, they have very similar mindsets in what they're trying to do, but they have different approaches, and that's where the comedy comes in. In this show, they all just feel like the same person. It's just like a bunch of weird little sociopathic 15-year-olds thinking way too hard about what they're doing. And the only one who's kind of genuine is the one who this episode's about, and it's just about breaking her.
Yeah.
Doesn't make her interesting. We're about to get into her. Here she is. And look, I know people in real life who remind me of this character that are really just giving it their all. I don't know how this girl ended up in the entertainment industry. I don't know why she thinks this is what she has to do. But every day she trains her ass off. She does all the practice. She's like, I'm trying to be the best I can. I just don't get it. You know, like everything that is so obvious to the green-haired girl and to Aqua is not obvious to this girl. She's putting her effort in. She's really trying. She takes notes on everything everybody tells her. But as her producer is getting chewed out by his producer about... And I gotta say, this guy gave a vocal performance of the fucking century. He was literally shouting and screaming in this scene. She's been given this chance. She's not standing out at all. So she overhears this conversation. And she's like, oh God, my guy is gonna get fired because I suck.
My guy, he got the frisbee.
Kind of embarrassing of a position to be in. There's a cutaway. Ruby was going to tweet about how some bottled water sucked or something. Kana's like, hey, don't you know? Brands, they're paying attention just like you. Look,
hey, Brand.
I work in the entertainment industry. Oh, literally, like, this is conversations I've had. Look, I kind of appreciate it. I want to like that this show is about things I understand. Like, the fact that it gets YouTube and Twitter to any extent.
It's interesting.
I want to like that, but, like, why do I care? I don't care about fucking Ruby. She sucks. She's not a fun character. I like Kana more, but only because she's a hard ass, and even she's inconsistent as shit. I've complained about on the last episode. It's just so hard for me to really give a shit about anything happening in this show because the characters are whack. I love her outfit. That's cool. whatever. Yeah, don't tweet about brands you want to work with in the future. So, all right, we get into the real heart of this episode. The girl who's trying her best basically tells as much to the girl who's been dominating, and she's like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm not going to stop dominating you. Like,
no, I'm going to destroy you.
I'm going to get all the attention.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, fuck you, you idiot." There are things I like about the visuals in this show. Her hair looks cool in this shot. All the nail designs she did were sincerely great. But there's something that, I don't know, it's weird to me with anime. I love art. I love illustrative art. I follow lots of people like that on Twitter. If I just like saw screen caps from this show, I'd be more likely to retweet them than enjoy the experience of sitting through 25 minutes of it this week. I don't know why the episodes are so long. It's just like, the fact that the artwork is good doesn't endear me to the show as much as I think it does for probably younger audiences. Basically, the girl who's sucks realizes that she has to try to be more dramatic and accidentally slaps Popular Girl in such a way that she cuts her face. She didn't mean to do that. She has kind of a breakdown about it. Popular Girl literally like hugs her and calms her down because she's
like, it's
so
fine.
amazing.
They can just fix it in Photoshop. Nothing matters. It's all cool.
If that girl slapped you that way, how do you think you'd have had the same reaction of like, I'm gonna calm you down instead of being mad that my face hurts?
She did look like she was freaking the fuck out. Blue hair girl, yeah, like she was having a panic attack. I might.
I just think it was a little too. Alright, so she's not just a great actress, but also she's a good person.
That's
okay.
not realistic at all.
So we get this whole scene. Almost the entire second half of this episode is about cyberbullying. Alright.
I'm gonna cyberbully you to finish this episode.
This was tough for me because I want to feel for this girl.
Have you ever been bullied on Twitter before? Has someone ever told you that you look like you wear small pants? This episode is for you.
I've been made fun of in real life my whole life. Like,
haha, yeah, right, you have. Especially with me around.
I got made like, we went to a bar 2 days ago.
Fuck you, Debbie.
Where a woman gave me shit about you calling me your wife and me having a beard about it because I hadn't had time to shave that morning, and she had some comments about it. I'm just saying, since I was a child, I've been given shit to my face in real life.
They said that to me.
They said that to me at a dinner. I have been told I think you should leave since I was a little kid. So for me, bullying, my reaction to it in anime, I get really frustrated depending on how it's handled. Especially as I get older. Because current me, she's getting cyberbullied. It's the internet. It's literally fucking not real.
Cyberbullying.
Close your eyes. Walk away from the... I was shouting these things during the episode. Like, just walk away! Look, I get it. She's a teenager, man. I probably would have tried to kill myself at her age. I'm not gonna lie. I've had suicidal ideation since I was a teen. Bullying wasn't easy at that age. But I'm almost 32.
Bullying's never easy. You have to come up with some really creative insults.
Yeah, no.
Oh shit, I did
bullying someone else. You kicked the speaker and now it's making a tone.
There we go.
Hey, it stopped. Yeah, no. Bullying other people's easy. Being bullied, at this point, like, what is somebody going to say to me? I'm an adult. What are you gonna tell me that's gonna make me feel emotional? Like,
got a big nose.
Such that I don't have that big of a nose.
I know. I was just trying to think of something.
I'm telling you, you cannot think of something. I'm gonna sit here and be like, What, something I made fun of myself for 10 years ago? Like, what do you mean?
Your feet are stinky. That's also not true, but I'm just trying to think
I
of
don't
stuff.
know. Your feet are fucking stinky.
Hey,
You
look.
had your feet on the air vents when I was driving home last night. God damn.
Hey, look, I do hard work every day.
We do that. Anyway, this show, I don't know, man. It's a little too young for me. I appreciate what Kito Senpai was saying. Like,
How many more episodes of this thing do we have?
of this show?
Yeah.
I think it's only 11. So it won't be
hallelujah.
too brutal. But I think Kito Senpai was saying, like, there's real people who this might have been based off of, who, like, have had these traumatic experiences. Again, you know, I've lived through it.
Thank you for not killing yourselves.
Yeah, alright. How does this episode go? She keeps getting
is
bullied.
standing on a highway overpass, and this makes
I'm
me
gonna
upset.
jump!
She does jump, and then Aqua grabs her mid-jump. She's like over the railing. She has jumped, and Aqua just comes in right in time.
Where
and just
was
picks
he?
her up. Yeah, I just doesn't. Fuck. This show.
He grabs her from falling. I was a little confused because in this shot where he grabs her, he's under her arms.
But in the next shot, he's not.
He's over her arms. I guess I can accept he rescued her, then hugged her, switched arm positions while we weren't looking, whatever. Yeah, he was there in the nick of time. I guess he fucking Spidey sensed she was going to kill herself because his mom was murdered.
He's got the murder sense.
There is like 8 minutes of this episode that's just this girl reading internet comments. You know, shitty things that people say, but that aren't true. And, like, it shows all the hard work that she put into being herself. Man, if this makes you emotional, I get it. Like, if you're a fan of people who have been really hurt. What are you pointing at?
The water.
By internet comments. I understand. You know, it's hurtful. I've just been here for 20 years. To quote mindless self-indulgence, there is nothing you can do that I've not already done to myself.
Like stream for 6 hours.
Yeah, alright. Let's move through this.
What do we got next?
Episode.
All right.
Hey, that was it for Oshi no
Dangers
Ko.
in my...
Oshi no Ko was the worst anime this season that we're watching.
I didn't have the highest hopes for this show with its first episode being 90 minutes long, and in fact wanted to really not watch it because its first episode was 90 minutes long, but it was pretty okay. The problem is now the show is kind of in a repetitive cycle of, like, there is a problem in one episode, the next episode that problem is solved. And also, these problems are not like regular problems. They're like the weirdest, most ridiculous problems ever. What do you mean?
I want you to come down towards the...
I'm not, because it's hot.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, they're just like, they introduce these ridiculous
Wait, are we even
problems.
live right now?
Oh shit. Oh wait, excellent connection.
Okay.
Whatever,
Jesus.
probably working.
Connection said it was bad for a second, so
Yeah.
I got scared, but I came back.
So anyway, they introduce a ridiculous problem. The next episode, they solve the ridiculous problem, and then the episode after that, nothing happens. We're in one of the nothing happens episodes. Or rather, like,
this is going to come down to your perspective, right?
all of the consequences from the problem from the previous episode, they're gone. They didn't matter. It wasn't even an issue at all. Well, this has happened a couple times. I think we should be fine.
Okay, so, man, I have to address, before we get into really discussing this episode...
Thank you for not killing yourselves.
Yeah, that too. This is the most liked anime of this season. If we're talking about, like, popularity, scores, you know, people gave Akane, the girl from the last episode, or I mean, girl from this episode, I guess, the girl who tried to kill herself.
She's a character now. She's just a character.
She won, like, the popularity poll of, like, the week or whatever among voters online in English-speaking territories. People are loving this show. And I understand that. I understand why people like this show. I think there's nothing wrong with liking this show, even if you're an adult. It's
I think
a little embarrassing.
there's a little wrong with liking this show.
But I need everybody to understand that we're not covering this show for people who like it. It says no data. We're just keep getting these data warnings, and I'm really I'm just scared.
I'm hearing us.
I'm scared that we're not gonna be live. And
I will let you know if we stop going live, but it has not cut out enough to matter.
Okay, so the people who love this show, they're totally right and they're justified. They should love it all day. This is just the other voice. All of the voices need to exist. The people who love it, the people who hate it, you need to know their reasons. Maybe you don't agree with those reasons. Maybe you think those reasons are unjustified. But you know what it doesn't affect? Your ability to like the show. Our not liking the show has no bearing on your liking the show. And if you love it, man, there are people talking about what makes it good. You can go watch Kito Senpai. You can go watch Ye-Man talking about what makes the show good, talking about the background information, going in really deep about fucking religious symbolism and shit in this show. There is stuff in this show that I totally understand liking. It's not for us. And I think some of you probably are only listening to this segment of the podcast. Literally go listen to the whole rest of it. This is the only show we were negative about this week. That means that there were 8 anime that we enjoyed this week. And this was the only one we're keeping up with that we didn't like enough that I gave it at least a 6 out of 10. So it's not that we don't like anime. It's not that we're super cynical. This show is not for us. It's not our genre. It's not our wheelhouse. And we only picked it up because it's the most popular anime of the season.
If this show takes a really hard turn towards being about detectiving again, I might enjoy it again. But it doesn't seem like it's going to. It seems like it's going to draw that out as long as possible while explaining the most mundane concepts on Earth in every episode.
I have to say, in Anonymous in the chat says, the first time I really became aware of normies was when I was walking out of the second Hunger Games movie while everyone else was giving a standing ovation.
You know, Anonymous, I totally understand that. However, I just need to say it, and I'm willing to take any backlash for this. I just recently rewatched all of those movies. Very good, very fun, actually very similar to the books, which I'm a huge fan of. Can't wait to see a Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
I have to say this. I love blockbuster entertainment, especially in the modern age. I think when something is successful at being pop media, that's awesome. Like, if something can appeal to everybody and still be good, you know, I think there's tons of stuff that is widely appealing and still of high quality, and I could explain why it is. And even this show, again, there's a lot to like about it. This episode for me is like a 5 out of 10. And that's, you know, I give something a 5 if overall I disliked it, but not so much that it was like painful or annoying.
You weren't screaming at the screen.
No, I wasn't like
Wait,
angry.
actually you might have been.
There have been episodes of this show and of Dead Mount Death Play that made me angry this season. This was not that level. It was just like, you know, it was like, I would have chosen not to have watched any of this if I could have. Like, I didn't need this taking up space inside my brain. Other than in that, we could talk about it because it's popular. And again, I realize that with the show being as popular as it is, it means that the overall sentiment is positive. Most people like it. Most people want to hear someone share positive opinions of it, and those people will not be happy with what we have to say. But this isn't for you. This is for the people who don't like it. It's for the people who gave it a shot because you liked it so much, because you scored it so highly on my anime list. And so everyone who's like, well, what the fuck is this show that it got such good scores and that it's so popular, we have to check it out. And if you checked it out and you don't like it, which is obviously going to be a sizable segment of any show's audience, there's shows I like this season that other people don't like. Almost nobody likes Magical Destroyers. I kind of like it. I like almost everything else. This week, everything was solid except for Oshi no Ko. So let's get into it. Now that we've pissed everybody off, Akane Kurosawa is getting roasted big time.
Oh no!
Kana
what if
here,
she tries to kill herself again?
Kana goes on this long-winded rant about why this would be happening, why it's understandable.
To the point of explaining the internet and social media and acting.
I've felt this way before too, even though I'm self-aware enough to analyze all of these behaviors, even me, I can get depressed enough to think, why don't I just end? Yeah, I know, I get it. We all feel this way. I don't know, when a character is backing out to a point of writing the exact comment that fans of the show are writing on my videos about, well, actually, she's a teenage girl, and for people that age, it's going to hit them even harder. And, Kana is saying this. She's a teenage girl. And she's like, well, and she's a teenager, so of course it's going to hit even harder. You're the same age! Is it supposed to hit her harder than you? Is it because you're more of a professional than she is? Just the level of fucking dialogue and overthinking that these characters do. Again, about things mostly I already know. And I try not to be overly cynical about shows that are talking to an audience that doesn't know things that I do know. Again, it's just not for me. The fact that it's not just that it's stuff I know, it's stuff that's an obvious fact of life that I've had to factor in every day for 20 years or whatever. Just stuff that to me seems so obvious that it's not worth mentioning is always being mentioned in this show. It just feels like they never made an assumption that the audience would already know anything.
I don't know if it is intentional. I'm just on the Dead Mount Deathplay wiki and reading trivia about Akane. It says, Akane's story in the Love Now arc, which is the one we're in right now.
You just said you were reading the Dead Mount Deathplay wiki.
Sorry, I inserted...
I was very confused by that.
I inserted up a bad show name. So sorry. I'm on the Oshi no Ko wiki. Akane's story in the Love Now arc resembles the circumstances surrounding the real-life death of Hana Kimura, a Japanese professional wrestler. Kimura committed suicide in May 2020 due to media pressure after getting embroiled in a controversy in the reality dating show Terrace House. While Akane's suicide was prevented at the last minute, Kimura's wasn't. Yeah. I don't know, just interesting.
So yeah, they talk about this shit for a while, and then turns out somebody saw this attempted suicide and called the police. So now both Aqua and Akane are in custody. She's understandably breaking down crying in front of her mom because she never told her anything, and the mom's just like, what the fuck is going on? Aqua's legal mom is called in. They're all having a powwow, and then this scene really annoyed me. And the show is going to explain exactly why this is happening, but I hate it. So, only the other cast members show up to Akane's hospital room. Where is her manager?
Where's anyone? Her mom is there, I think.
Does she have a dad?
No.
Is there anyone else in her family who might give a shit? Where are the show producers or directors? That question's kind of going to be answered. Basically, the answer is they're all callous assholes who wanted this to happen, but none of them would have at least tried to look good by showing up. None of them thought it might protect their image. This is... Sometimes shows are cynical in a way where I'm like, you're almost not cynical enough. I think it's important to recognize that most of the good that happens in the world is because people are performatively trying to seem like good people. If people weren't trying really hard to make other people think that they're okay, they wouldn't try that hard to be okay. But generally, if you come off as a big asshole or a sociopath all the time, people don't want to work with you and think you're a piece of shit. And the attitude that the people running this show seem to have based on this episode, which isn't the impression I had gotten when the main character met the producer, I guess, in the beginning, who asked him to be on the show. like the impression that these guys gives is like, well, nobody would work with them again. Like, and maybe that's why. I mean, I guess this show it's all teenagers. So if they're just producing this same show and they're getting a new batch of teenagers in every year, maybe it doesn't matter and they can just grind through them. There are definitely Dr. Phil. That guy doesn't care about the people who are on his show.
I don't.
You know,
I mean,
like,
some of them. He must care about some of them.
I think for the most part, they are just, whoever is getting filtered through the grinder of this show next. But someone along the line is the one who has to manage those people. Like, I would assume on a show like this in real life, probably each of these characters would have someone from the show who is assigned to be their personal attendant to, like, make sure that they're on script, like the whole time for what they're trying to do. That person would have been here. It was unrealistic to me that no one showed up except for all of the other cast members. It's one of those things where I have a big problem with Smarks. I'm gonna make this a thing. I'm really gonna go after Smarks as my next target. And maybe a lot of people don't know what this is, but in wrestling terms, a mark is somebody who believes the storyline, who just full-heartedly believes the what the characters are saying is happening in the story. A smark is somebody who realizes that all that stuff is obviously, dumb bullshit, but buys into the fake meta-narrative that is also being promoted as though it's real, and think that, like, if anything is being shown to you, it's calculated. Like, this podcast, right? Like, I think about what I'm going to say on this podcast before I do the podcast. I go through the episodes, I select the clips. While we're watching the shows, I think things. I think, I'm going to say this, and then I find a screen cap, and I think, I'm going to say this at this part. And there's obviously a lot of...
I am seriously considering, and not because of any failings I think I have on the show, but purely because I just bought some really nice pens, starting taking notes on this.
I've considered it a few times. When there's stuff I forget, like talking about the music, which I never remember to do. We're 8 episodes into all these shows, and I still never given like a real rundown of their music. But, for the most part, obviously there's plenty of ad-lib. I don't think of every single word I'm going to say on the show, but like there's a direction I'm planning. There's a style that I want it to have. There's a difference between the way I would talk on here and the way I would talk, in a regular conversation. So to me, it's not that it's fake per se. This show did a good job of explaining it in the last episode when the girl's like, yeah, I really do have these opinions, but I'm playing them up for the camera. The problem is that the show understands that, but also is buying into aspects of the unreality of reality TV that are still fabrication. It feels like this show is made by somebody who's a big fan of entertainment and the entertainment industry and has read a lot and studied a lot, but still thinks more of it is real than it really is. And that's what I would call a smark. Somebody who, keeps convincing themselves that the people at the top are being sincere about something, when like the reality is you cannot make it to the top without a level of detachment and a level of understanding of where you can plug sincerity into a broader scheme of deliberate action. Yeah, so anyways. Here's the producers, the production staff who fan the flames, and the netizens who say whatever the hell they please. These
netizens,
are the bad
what
guys.
The fucking portmanteau.
So basically, what Aqua decides to do to combat the negativity towards Akane, because I guess he's just invested now. It's because he's, he knows how easily people can die, having seen his mom's death.
Whoa!
So he wants to make sure this girl doesn't kill herself. So he starts a whole campaign of highly publicizing her suicide attempt. Like, hey everybody, you made this girl want to die. Don't you feel like shit? And
no, they don't.
He wants to turn her reputation around. So he talks to the director, and the director's just like, hey man, everybody just wants to see people fight in a way that seems realistic. We didn't coerce her into anything. She was just being herself, man. We're
The
just
weirdest
pointing
part
the
of all of
camera."
this is that Aqua kind of goes, yeah, you're right, but also, you're an asshole.
Yeah, Aqua's like, well, how old are you, mister? And he's like, I think he says he's 30
Oh,
or so.
right, because he's 35, but he calls Akane a professional. And Aqua basically goes, no matter how professional someone is, a 17-year-old is always going to make mistakes.
Yeah. It made me upset because I remembered that almost exactly what he says in this scene, not unlike what Kana said earlier, is what commenters were saying in defense of our criticisms of Akane on the last episode. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, the text of the show is not unclear to me. I'm just complaining about it, that I don't like it. The characters going over it and explaining again and again why it makes sense is... You don't need to tell me why your story makes sense. If it makes sense, it makes sense. You don't have to go into fucking 8 minutes of telling me why the things happened. I get it.
Do you get it?
I think so. I hope so. I'm sure fans of the show will tell me how much I don't get it. Basically, Aqua decides, all right, fuck the director, fuck these guys. What we're going to do is we're going to compile all the footage we can, find all the moments where it looks like we're all being friends, and we're going to reframe this whole show as if we were all like actually buddy and they were fucking us over trying to make us look like we hated each other.
Tall boys win again. We
true.
are changing the story.
The story has changed. They managed to get 74,000 retweets in 24 hours, which is
That's
fucking
a fuckload
high
of
number.
retweets.
That is a really fucking high number. So yeah, it all works. And then they're having this moment where they're all hanging out, and they basically ask Aqua, "What's your ideal woman?" And he starts describing all of the traits of I, of course, his mom that he was in love with before she
And
was his mom.
simultaneously his mom and his mommy, if you will.
Yeah.
Although he is older than she was.
And the weird girl with the devil horns is like, it sounds like you're describing I. And Akane is like, that idol who died a long time ago? And she's like, yeah, she's basically exactly that person. And so Akane is like, well, since Aqua saved my life, I am going to dedicate myself to becoming that woman that he's obsessed with.
And then we get a little montage of her doing that, learning all the things. She
in like the
she
scariest
creates a Pepe
way.
Sylvia board.
Yeah, this is the most disturbing. I mean,
I think this might be the second time a Pepe Sylvia board I've referenced in an Oshinoko.
how do you think we are supposed to feel about this character? Like, she's mentally ill, right? Like, like the suicide ideations and the awkward personality aside,
She, like Heath Ledger, is an amazing actor.
yeah, she's totally like off the deep end at this point. She's obsessively researching I, learning all of her mannerisms. She quickly through her psychoanalysis of I, she concludes, seemingly on her own, that she must have been fucking as a teenager. She's like, all of her behavioral patterns are those of someone who was fucking as a teenager. But it seems like she calmed down when she was 16. Maybe she started getting that good dick. Like, this is her surmising about what, like, happened with I. She's just on point. Everything she studies, she knows. But she's basically... This is the funniest and maybe my favorite thing that's happened in the whole show so far, actually, is her coming to the conclusion that she needs to figure out, how can I be like her without being a slut at, like, a young age? Like, how can I imitate everything I does without the sexual trauma?
/ coming off like a psychopath.
Oh, well, she's definitely coming off like a psychopath, but she has the star eyes at the end of the episode. Also, we learned that I was unclear if they were talking about her specifically, but I guess she's like a famous stage actress, actually.
Yeah, she's a really good actress.
Yeah, she's sucked on this show because it's a reality show, but actually, as an actress, she is apparently stunning. This has never been brought up. That whole last episode where she was getting trolled by the whole internet, she had nobody stepping up to defend her, even though she was already a beloved and popular actress. Because they've been trying to paint it like it was just this innocent girl who nobody fucking knew about. And the whole impression of her is just that she fucked over the more popular girl. But actually, no. She's a beloved fucking stage actress. Nobody said anything to defend her. This is unbelievably unrealistic and annoying to me.
It's like, let's say, for example, Kevin Spacey went on a reality TV. No.
Yeah, I really hated that they suddenly retconned
that joke works
she's
because
like,
he's both a stage actor and a very scandalous human being.
I hope this bitch becomes a scandalous human being. Right now, she just... I mean, I guess...
She doesn't.
Does she have yandere energy? Is that what they're going for? Do they want her
She's
to
not
seem
trying
like
to kill him.
She's just scary. She's a little scary. I thought the fact that they made her quite so scary did start to redeem her a little. She became interesting finally.
Yes.
I was not interested in her at all based on the bullying bullshit, based on the suicide attempt. No, I didn't give a fuck about any of that. But learning that she's like a psychopath, now I'm a little more interested. And I really hope the next episode picks up because this was so boring. This episode was mostly just monologue on monologue of characters psychoanalyzing one another, sociologically analyzing culture, all through like a very narrow, cynical lens, really not that much perspective on how the industry works, and I just thought it was annoying. Again, I get why people like this show, but please watch Shiro Bako, watch fucking Sore ga Seiyu, watch Animation Runner Kuromi, watch anything else about the industry before you watch this show, and you will definitely watch fucking Perfect Blue. Somebody said this show was Perfect Blue for Redditors. I thought that was really, really funny. Perfect Blue is an amazing film, and yeah, it's a lot of the same
Lynch
themes. No, but it feels like a David Lynch thing.
Okay.
You're thinking of Blue Velvet.
I see. I'm
Perfect
gonna use the
Blue is an
restroom.
anime film by the guy who did Paranoia Agent. It was his first movie. Bird doesn't like the first episode of Paranoia Agent, which in retrospect, I will say, feels a lot more obvious than it did at the time. I don't know if that's because I was young or because psychology was just so much less of a topic in the mid-2000s. Oshinoko.
Oh god, this episode.
Bird's gonna be peacefully getting his nails done while I throw an autistic shit fit about Oshinoko. I'm not gonna go into as much depth as I thought I would when we were watching this because every line of dialogue was like infuriating to me in this episode. Characters are just always saying either like the most obvious shit that like didn't need to be said at all, or just the dumbest, weirdest like characters just say things that the same person wouldn't say both of those things all the time in this show, and it's hard to like put into words and describe and justify to people because obviously it's fantasy, it's fiction. Nobody talks like a real person in fiction, right? And it's like, sure, but there's more like of a sense of purpose usually. It's like, I don't know. To me, like good writing is every line is trying to add to a character, and if the lines contradict each other and the character seems incoherent, then it breaks them for me. And some people are not going to have that effect. They're just going to look past it or not think it's weird. But to me, everything in this show just feels so slapdash and like, not that there wasn't thought put into it. Tons of thought is put into it. It's just the wrong thoughts. Too many errant random thoughts were put into this fucking manga.
Interesting.
So the way it starts, oh man, I just realized, Quinn, there's no way I could describe the actual
I can describe it
the
pretty
plot.
quickly. Just, so basically Oshinoko starts with a 90-minute anime episode. In that episode, there is an idol who is 16 years old who is secretly pregnant. Her gynecologist the
A
night
lot of teen pregnancy in this season's anime.
her gynecologist gets
what?
killed the night she's going to give
Big
birth.
Anime fan. Maybe I'm becoming more of a boomer, where I'm like, anime is just like little girl.
Do you think I cover anime because I enjoy it?
Oh fuck!
It sounded like it hurt.
Fucking
But so, the 16-year-old idol's gynecologist is killed the night that she is going to deliver her children, and he is reincarnated as one of her children.
He's also like her biggest fan, we should mention.
Yeah. So then it's basically him and his twin sister living as their daughter for a while, and then the idol gets fucking murdered.
Yeah. So basically, he's trying to solve his mom's murder by way of becoming...
You're right. The show has a plot.
Yeah. It's about a guy trying to solve his mom's murder, except it's his mom because he was reborn as her child after having been her biggest fan when he was in his 30s. And also the younger sister was also her biggest fan, except she was 12.
The little sister was a 12-year-old cancer patient of the gynecologist. And
I think you both are still partially explaining stuff to your audience and not to me. But also I'm like kind of phasing it out.
I'm sorry.
Continue on.
It's hard to describe this show in a meaningful way.
Okay.
In this arc, our main character is trying to work for a TV series.
A manager, specifically.
He's been working for this... God, Jesus, I hate this fucking show. It's a high school dating reality show.
You all should be ashamed of yourselves.
The main characters are high schoolers, and there is a reality show of where they all pretend that they are having like love drama in the background of, I don't know, being at school. This fucking reality show they're in makes no fucking sense. Alright, so this opening scene...
She's just gonna talk to herself for about 30 minutes now.
Akane, this bitch... So... She tried to kill herself because of mean comments on the internet. She was saved by the main character, Aqua. He made her fall in love with him by doing that. And then she found out that his favorite idol was I. She doesn't know that it was his mom, or his favorite idol before he was dead, for that matter. Whatever.
Do you think he's ever going to tell anyone?
No, because it'll make no fucking sense. No, he kind of does in this episode, and it doesn't make enough sense for the character to pick up on it. This is such a weird episode. Akane, she found out about his love for Ai. She studied Ai obsessively for weeks, and then has now cloned her personality.
Because she is such a good actress.
She is such an amazing actress and researcher that she has, just by studying Ai's movements, just by watching her, just by looking at clips and listening to her talk, she concluded something no one figured out in her whole life and career, because she didn't... I got pregnant and had children when she was 16. She died like 10 years later?
No, 3. They were like 3.
They were only 3?
Yeah.
Okay, she died like 3 years later.
No, it's like a scene of Aqua as a 3-year-old holding his sister away from Ai's body as she's dying.
3 straight years that I had a total cover-up on the fact that she had children. No one knows about the kids. They've been raised as other people's kids this whole time. Nobody knows I had children. This girl watches clips of her and goes, you know, from the way that she acts, I bet she had an unwed pregnancy at 16.
Yeah.
She just
and
guesses.
At one point, Aqua's like,
She
wait,
just
what the
thinks
fuck?
that's
How do you know
probably
that?
true.
And then she explains, like, well, you know, I read a lot of books and profile and character studies, so I can just pick up on these kinds of things.
So no one else who has ever had experience in profiling and character study came to this conclusion?
I love it. Yeah.
So she studied up on Ai. She comes into class, and the end of the last episode was like her showing up, just having the stars in her eyes like I did. And it's like, uh-oh, she's going to do the thing.
Well, it's also weird because it implies, like, so initially I thought it was a genetic thing because Aqua and Ruby only have it in one eye each. And she just randomly gets it.
I think it's more like having hockey in one piece. It's like if you're a badass, then like other badasses can recognize how much of a badass you are because they can see like your badassness, and that's what the stars are.
I don't know what One Piece is.
Well,
I know what it is.
neither do
I don't know what hockey is for sure.
So this girl what bothered me about this scene at the start of the episode. This is staged as back at Strawberry Productions where Aqua works. His sister, what the fuck is her name?
Ruby and Aqua.
Ruby.
Aquamarine is his
Ruby
full name.
and Kana, the girl who's in love with Aqua, are watching the TV show on their laptops. This scene where Akane walks into the classroom looking like I and shocks everybody is happening in the show. This is happening on the TV show, which I don't know, is it live? I'm so confused about the nature of this show because they're always watching it like it's a live show. But, like, because they're never, like, he's never, like, back home done with it, like, it having been taped weeks ago or whatever. I don't know. Maybe there's, like, a lag time between what he's doing and when they see it. I wish they explained this
production
shit better.
schedule. Like, so for a show that takes so much time to explain how the simplest things in the film and, I guess, idle production and entertainment industry, like, the most simple things, it does not take any time to explain why the fuck the sister and Kana can see it. It's just annoying.
It's a big problem with a lot of anime writing, especially anime that are based on manga, where certain authors just, they don't know what information they should give you. Where, like, they give you way too much of certain things and then almost nothing of other things. And you're like, wait, I really wanted to know this and this, and you told me so much shit I didn't care about on all these other subjects. And this show is a big problem that Dead Mount Deathplay does too. We'll get to that.
Oh, yeah, that show got bad again this week.
Yeah, but it wasn't, like, as fucking infuriating as this one. So, this whole scene takes place on the show. The lighting of the scene is implied as though it is from Aqua's perspective, because the whole scene is staged like a horror. It's literally, like, creepy to everybody that Akane is acting so different, and for him in particular, it's, like, off-putting, because he's like, what the fuck, I'm seeing my mom. Like, this is fucking with my brain.
/ my mommy.
Yeah, exactly. So, he's like, totally flustered and doesn't know how to handle it. But, like, the lighting of the scene, everything about it has this creepy, like, unnerving aura to it, which, if we're implying that that's what the show actually looks like, because that is what the girls are seeing who are watching it on the laptop, like, why would they stage it that way? They wouldn't. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It seems... Everything about the scene is to put us in the shoes of feeling like Aqua and the other kids who know her, but that doesn't make sense diegetically. So, it's
I really just wish,
a clusterfuck.
for all these show scenes, they just showed us what the people on the show, like, watching the show, are seeing. Because every now and then they cut to the cameras, and it's like, that's not the angle we're seeing this shot from.
And also, there's parts where, like, they have lengthy conversations that you would think would have been edited in the show. So then you're kind of like, well, did they really show all of that? Because that would be a boring show. Oh, wait, they just showed me all of that, and this is a boring show. Fuck! So many meta layers of bad show making. Alright, let's bully through. Oh my god. So yeah, this girl, like, asks Aqua to, like, get something for her, and he says no. And then Akane says, oh, come on. It would be so easy for you to do it. And he goes, okay. And she's like, see? He'll only listen to her. That means she's doing something to him. It's just so stupid. So goofy. So goofy. These girls are... Again, this is all part of the show where, like, he gets flustered... and, like, literally tells her to stop. He's like, I can't handle this, and he leaves the room.
And then everyone's like, oh my god, he's being serious. He's actually uncomfortable
Which
right now.
they're excited about, because they're like, whoa, he's showing, like, way more emotion than we were expecting, you know? So, like, yeah, they're like, but again, this is still on camera. Akane, like, reverts to her regular
The
self.
stars disappear, she's just back to normal.
Like, she was just doing it so that she could act for him in a way she thought he would like, and she sees that it's working, and the other girls are like, oh, now you're back to normal, this is cool, we're gonna help you do this. But again, this is all, like, like, her now having that, like, I don't know, she's, like, as part of the show, manipulating him into falling in love with her. It's a very weird meta text what this show is presenting to us. So anyways, Kana, who is this show's big failure, Her whole character is just to be the one who's always gonna be getting cucked, basically. She's really cute, but her destiny is to be the misfortunate one. Unless she ends up winning in the end, who knows? But, and by winning I mean getting the guy, because that's how it works in anime. Kana is watching the show and she's fucking pissed because he's flirting with this other girl. But then he comes up to her in the middle of school one day and is like, "Hey, you want to skip school with me?" And she's
On the
like,
way to school.
"Fuck yes! I would love to skip school. Let's go to fucking Tokyo Disney. Let's go to fucking Tokyo Tower." And he's like, "That's..."
Wouldn't we be immediately caught?
Yeah, and she's like, but we're, and she's, you know, again, way too much dialogue. Basically, he takes her to a baseball park. And
This
so they can play
line
catch.
this line was so fucking stupid. When I think about what a young guy and girl would do after escaping from the prison known as school, baseball's on the last of my thoughts. I was
So
like, oh,
is
come
she
on.
just like saying to him, "Hey, I wanted to fuck"? Like, that's how I read that statement, which is very forward of her. Because she's never had like a confession. She's never been like, "I like you." She's never been like forwardly, I don't know, dating him.
Well, and
or
she's
anything.
liked him since they were like 8.
Yeah.
Because they met on like a kids show or something.
I don't know
This
if she
show's
liked
so
him back
fucking.
then.
She definitely did. This show's really confusing.
But yeah, also, I didn't know she hated school. Was that something established about her?
No.
'Cause she's the one who toured them around the school in the first place.
Yeah.
So now she's calling it the prison known as school, and this feels to me like just the author's opinion slipping in. Like somebody, like, and speaking personally, I fucking hate school. I consider it
I
a
think
prison.
most people hate school. It just is a prison. I don't know. I don't
I-
think anyone likes school.
I agree with the sentiment. I just don't think this character would. She's never shown
Is she
herself to be
studious?
such a like anti-society.
I think she
type
is
of a-
studious, actually.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
she's a really good student.
Never mind.
It's just never implied that she hated school.
Okay, I get you.
So this is where Aqua starts going all schizo on her and talking to himself in front of her, literally, where he starts just saying, "The boundary between me and Aqua Hoshino is steadily vanishing."
Because he's reaching the point of maturity where there's not that much of a difference between him being a 28-year-old gynecologist and him being like a 17-year-old guy.
Right. And also, like, just basically growing up again. He puts it like when he was a child, he couldn't fully
Make
form-
memories.
Yeah, like he couldn't. It doesn't make sense because in the first episode, he literally is like narrating his birth as
Yeah.
though he was like the same guy the whole time, and now he's retconned to saying like, "Well, actually, I was a little bit like a baby back then," and it's purely so that it can build to him saying, "This is so obnoxious." This is just because he has to be able to say, "Of course, since I have grown up and experienced adolescence, I do think of myself as a 17-year-old, and I view girls around my age as potential love interests." He says this out loud. This is something he is saying to the girl who likes him is, "Of course I view girls my age as a potential love interest." And like,
Oh, and so she immediately thinks of like herself being a year older than him and is like, hey, that's
Yeah.
cool. And then she thinks of Akane, who is also a year older than him, and is like, oh no.
she also called him a chunibyo at one point because he's
'Cause he is.
ranting about stuff she can't possibly understand. Like, does he just not care? Like, he knows she doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. She doesn't understand that he is a reincarnated fucking older person. Like, everything he's saying, he's just talking to the audience. He's just explaining to us the plot. It is so frustrating to me. None
So-
of this means anything to her. Why is he telling her this shit?
Someone in the chat said, yeah, you can be a 28-year-old and a child in mind, though. And that's not what we're talking about. They
Yeah,
are
no.
a child
He-
in the...
He was a fully grown doctor. He was an adult, and he was born in the show. We explicitly saw that his train of thought was exactly the same when he was reborn. What he is explaining to us now is that actually his train of thought was interrupted by baby brain and has only recently gotten to be as good as it originally was. But also, like, growing up in this body has made him feel like a different person. So now he's just like, oh, I'm more of a 17-year-old than I ever was a 36-year-old. It just doesn't fucking make sense. I hate it. Let's move along. have you ever skipped school before? And then she, like, posing, sweaty, glistening, doing it with you is my first time. My very first time. You didn't
Sex.
fuck. You skipped school. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, this is where basically...
Akane lets on that she knows somehow
Well,
that...
so Aqua's not particularly interested in Akane, like, as a person or love interest, but...
He loves her as an actress.
Yes, he thinks that he's just like, hey, how the fuck were you able to do that? Like, how did you figure out how to be I so well? And she's like, well, I did a bunch of research and I made my own guesses. Like, I think she probably had children out of wedlock. And he's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what the fuck? And so it's sort of implied that where this is going, what this character, because this is like our third episode of focusing on this girl. And we've never really been exactly
It's
clear
3 too many
like
episodes.
what her purpose is going to be. And now it seems like he's trying to keep her around to be his Watson because her brilliant detective brain will allow her to just figure out who Ai's connections were. Like, you figured out I so well, you could probably find out everyone she was ever connected with and get me closer to the killer. This is so stupid.
Let's try it.
I don't know.
So this is where he's doing our main character, our hero, our protagonist, the person we're supposed to look up to and relate to and think is cool, is Andrew Tating this girl. This is literally what Andrew Tate went to prison for. He's
Literally,
he's going in for the kiss, and as he's doing it, he's just thinking, I can use this bitch. So yeah, he's just going to emotionally manipulate her into staying around him so that he can use her brain. Great guy. Totally likable character. Not a fucking sociopath at all.
I mean, maybe he's just gonna get her to act like I, so that, like, the same stalker... Oh, wait, no, he's dead.
No, he explicitly says to her that he wants her to, like, find information and stuff. Like, he's just going to have her be his number 2 on this case. Kana sees him kiss Akane on the ending of the show, and she's just like, drop dead. Fuck you. I hate you. So they're having the after party for the show. Everybody who's in production and everything is there. And they're all discussing, like, are any of us going to actually date afterwards? Some of the professionals are like, I've never actually dated before. I've just been doing work, constantly. They're all fucking child actors. So they're like, more in this for the career move than for the actual relationship stuff. But they come to the director and he's like, well, there's been people who ended up getting married who met through this show. There's been, plenty of drama. Like, we don't care what you do. The show's over. But
there are sweet temptations aplenty.
So this is where it gets really creepy. He's like, well, we want you to use this platform. Like, whatever you can get out of it, if you want to date, if you want to set something up, go ahead. And several of them literally, like, start dating as a, like, move.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going to set up, like, we're going to start dating because it'll help us be more popular. Again, the show explores this, like, yeah, this is just the way the industry works, and it's all logical. Like, there's no sense of charisma of, like, watching two characters fall in love so that we can understand how this works. It's like, this is a thing that happens in the... Did you know that sometimes actors on the set of films fall in love? Like, I'm watching the trivia segment before a movie in, like, the theater. You're like, Brad Pitt and fucking Brangelina Zhang, like, met on the set of Jumanji in 1963, and now they're fucking having 3 more Maddoxes.
Brad Pitt wasn't alive in 1963. That might not be true, but I'm pretty sure.
Anyway.
Also,
Brent's trying
Brad
to get a
Pitt
fucking
dating
pretzel.
Brangelina is really funny.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's fully dry, but
I just love that when you Google search Maddox, it's always their child comes up instead of internet comedian Maddox.
Their kid's name is Maddox? That's really funny.
Yeah. This director is, as he's explaining to them, we want you to use our platform to, do whatever you can. He's also talking about how, like, there's plenty of people who abuse you children who make shows like this because, they don't give a fuck about you. And there are sweet temptations aplenty. This is like an
What does
Epstein
that even mean?
quote to me. Like, he's literally talking like Jeffrey Epstein. Like, hey, if any of you wants to go to, like, private fuck island and have a degenerate career, we can help you with that too. I don't know. This shit was creepy, man. which is accurate. I will say this is the most accurate thing about the show is that the industry is full of creeps. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is this show trying to cover like a legitimate issue in the film industry where like these kids legitimately do get into centralized stuff?
it's kind of it's one of those shows that tries to have it both ways, where it's being really critical of the industry but also really loves it, and so it's critical of certain things. But the weird part is it's more critical of fans. Like, people who shit on TV stars and make them, like, drive them to suicide and stuff. It super cares about that. Super cares about online bullying. Not so much about the gross inner politics of the industry, which it seems to just take for granted as, like, yeah, well, that's just what you do when you're a celebrity, is be a... All of the characters are sociopaths. All of them.
Wow.
None of them acts like a normal person. None of them talks like a normal person. All they care about is their careers and how they
I would say the
come
closest to
across.
acting like a normal person is their like adoptive mother, and
Yeah.
then
She's
also
just, you know,
Ruby, just because Ruby doesn't really do that much.
And Ruby's a fucking idiot. But so basically, you know, producer guy or manager or whatever, the guy who got him onto the show, who has the information about his mom, you know, he's sort of critical of Aqua for having leaked the attempted suicide stuff onto the internet, and he's like, you know,
Because it was a raw footage or something, and there's something in the contract that says you can't do that, and then Aqua basically goes, well, I read that contract, and actually,
yeah,
I was
because
completely
I posted
within
it on
it.
my social media, it was okay. Basically, they come to a stalemate on that, and he's like, I'll give you the information, meet me at sushi next week. So
which
we don't even
sucks.
Yeah, this episode ends without us actually learning any information about the plot, which I love.
Oh, and then this whole thing.
There's this last scene. The long and short of it is the one girl with the blonde hair.
The
from
YouTuber.
The show,
She's the YouTuber.
she used to want to be an idol. He invites her into the idol group. I don't know why this scene takes 2 minutes. It's very boring. I totally dissociated. And, because this girl looks kind of like Sharo from Is the Order a Rabbit? Which is one of my favorite anime openings. So as this was going on, I fading in the back of my mind was like, and then I was just like, yeah, I'm dancing, and I was seeing the images from the OP in my head, and I was like, this is so much better than Oshi no Ko. So yeah, that was that. It was bad. I
This
really hated
show
it.
sucks a
I
lot.
promised a 40-minute autistic shit fit, and that is exactly what you got, I think. I actually did go over every line of dialogue I had a problem with, like I said I wouldn't. We mostly talk about this show to filter children out of listening to this podcast. Because in spite of other shows like The Dangers in My Heart having younger characters, this is the only show that I know no self-respecting adult would actually enjoy.
That's not true.
So,
That's not.
self-respecting.
Oh,
What-
right.
what-
Sorry. It's very important.
Who's the demographic then for this?
Definitely
show?
teenagers and
Oh.
Reddit. Anybody who's on Reddit, this show is for
It
them.
looks very colorful.
It is it's a really pretty
I
show.
love how giant her eyes are.
They're like big old water droplets. Oh God, it's Oshi no Ko.
Oh God. Okay, so this
If
episode.
you like this show,
You're wrong. Please stop watching our show.
Listening to our podcast and commenting on it. I don't care. I mean, you're allowed to listen to the podcast, but
Especially if you give
please,
us money.
Please,
Actually,
Please
you can only make
Stop
comments
yourself.
if you're giving us money.
stop yourself and think about your life. Reconsider what you're doing.
So this episode actually started off a little okay. I was like, wow, this is kind of better than it has been lately.
Well, we've got Mem. She's a YouTuber, slightly bigger than my channel, which is a little embarrassing. But she's got twice the TikTok following, apparently.
First time I've heard TikTok mentioned in an anime,
Me
which was
too,
strange.
I'm surprised it took so long. But fucking whatever. She wants to be an idol. They let her join.
And she.
This was the only scene I cared about in this episode,
This
where
was
we
really
find out
funny.
that she's actually 25.
26. Oh yeah, 25.
Yeah, she just turned 25 and she's pretending to be a high schooler. She just writes like high schooler and then parentheses LOL on all of her.
And she was like, and people seem to really like that.
Yeah, that got her work. So, the main part of this episode is just Kana hating herself.
Which is the main part of most of these episodes lately.
Kana's
really annoying.
She just sucks. Her personality is that she sucks. That's the character.
When it's funny too, because like they're in the idol group, they're about to have their first, or rather they're planning for their first show, and so they're trying to figure out who is the front person, who's actually going to be out there singing and dancing and all that, who's a good singer. And Kana goes, "I suck at singing, I couldn't do it."
Yeah.
And then by the end of the episode, we learn that she's actually had a very successful music career and is a really good singer.
I don't think it was successful. I just think she made a bunch of videos that never took off. She's never taken, like, she's basically depressed because she's tried all kinds of shit her whole life and none of it's fucking worked. She's just never had a fan following, so she thinks that there's no chance for her. This scene is so annoying, man.
So this is strange. So this girl, who should be part of the idol group, honestly, she comes up and starts talking to two other girls who this show hasn't done anything with.
Well, it's the sister Ruby. It's Ruby is talking to the pink-haired girl who has been around since like episode 2, and I don't think has said one plot relevant thing in the show. They're having a nonsense conversation, and then this girl who, right before she showed up, I was like, and what the fuck happened to that? And then she comes on screen, and I'm like, oh, there she is.
She comes up and, I guess, tells a joke. I'm not clear what the joke is.
So she overhears that they're talking about the show that Aqua was on. And she's like, oh, I liked that show, you know? It was full of pretty boys and girls. It was a real feast for the eyes.
She was like,
you know? It was just a good time.
She said something like, yeah, you know, I would have pinned Mem down in a heartbeat or something like that.
And, like, they're both just surprised that she's... Like, they don't say anything. She really just kind of diatribes at them. But, like, their take on what she's doing is, oh, she's actually funny. Of course, this wouldn't be revealed in her acting because funny girls always try to cover it up.
Because men will see them as a threat or whatever.
Yeah, and to just like go on this whole tangent about how she didn't tell a fucking joke. She's just having conversation, and they're not even responding to her. They're like talking to each other about her in front of her about what she's like. It is so fucking weird. It has nothing to do with the episode. Nothing. This is just a total one-off scene establishing that this girl, who we know to be like one of the more famous and considered like, I guess, skilled people in their class, also has a sense of humor, and by sense of humor we mean is a regular fucking person.
Yeah, that's not a joke. That's just not. The show is so bad. I can't even really be mad at it anymore because I know it's gonna be bad.
I feel like I dumped all my passion into the rant on the last episode, and like the fact that there was one comment where just somebody was like, well, you're wrong about it because like literally a numbered list of things about the show that are just like, they just described the show. They just described what's happening in the show, and I'm like, yeah, those are all the things we just said sucked. Like, those aren't defenses. We didn't misunderstand it. We understood it and hated it. You think that you couldn't understand it and dislike it somehow, like as though the fact that you understand it is why you like it. You like it because you're stupid and you don't know things and you haven't experienced. You don't have life experience. Like, I'm sorry.
You didn't even finish your long drink. This
is the filter episode. I'm not putting up with Oshi no Ko fans. Like, grow up. Have any experience. Watch Shiro Pako.
More like Oshi no brain cells.
If you have to watch something about the industry, because people keep telling me, like, oh, but it's cool that it talks about the industry. Everything it says is shallow and stupid. There's tons of shows about the industry. The arts industry loves to talk about itself. You don't need this show in your life. Have more self-respect than to talk about the fact that you like Oshi no Ko to anybody.
Or anime, honestly. I mean, like, we get paid to do it, but...
If you're gonna say you like anime, you have to be sexy about it. You gotta be like, yeah, I like anime because I like to dress up in cool clothes and like scream out
Horizon said, imagine you say something funny and then people just start psychoanalyzing you out of nowhere.
Right? It was a really weird scene. Oh man. All right. We learn. This really frustrates me.
Oh,
because
right. We're finally getting the hot goss from the manager or whatever.
Do we? No. We don't get any goss. He
just
describes Ai. He's like, oh yeah, she was always like a little bit of a weirdo, you know. She always showed up wearing shitty clothes and didn't really talk to anybody. I'm like, I'm right here. Like, you didn't have to fuck. I didn't need to be called out.
They just heard that we were talking so much shit.
Yeah.
So.
But no, he really just kind of describes I, and then we cut back to fucking Kana bullshit for the rest of the episode. And like, yeah, she had a cute scene where she did a little song when she was a kid. Everybody remembers her for that and how bad she was at singing during that. So she's like, obviously she can't sing. And then she's like, no, I can't. I suck. I'm worthless. I'm the worst person in the world. And they're just kind of watching her destroy herself. And then these two idiots
go to karaoke and they're really bad.
Yeah, but they're both making excuse. Mem's like, yeah, I might be bad, but at least I'm individual.
And then Ruby goes like, well, I was hoping to give the fans an experience of like starting as a bad artist and then being a better artist.
Good.
And it's like, I know some people who feel this way about things. And it's really dumb.
Well, you won't be popular until you are good. Maybe people will look back on the stuff you did when you sucked and feel some sense of endearment for it, but, you know, you have to actually be good before anybody's going to care. But then we find out Kana can super sing, super good, apparently. She's sitting there sipping her drink, looking like she hates herself
right
for
before,
getting 97
Right before
points.
this, the two other girls discover that Kana had a music career, and they start listening to his song, and they play the whole fucking thing.
There's a like full minute-long music video. In the middle of
I
this
skipped
episode.
through it because it sucked.
You know, she started singing, and I think there was about 7 or 8 notes before she hit one, and I hated her voice, and I was like, ugh. And as soon as I made like the cringe noise, you just went pop 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 pop. Like that was me hitting the arrow key. Pop 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 pop.
Yeah, I mean, at least like Kamikatsu, when they do the annoying theme song thing, there's
Yeah.
usually footage over it as opposed to
Yeah.
a music video.
A totally context-free, generic, shitty music video to sell the stupid insert song for the stupid show for stupid people. Stop it. Alright, that's enough Oshinoko for this week. Oshinoko,
Hey, guess what?
This
It
anime.
sucks.
We're gonna go through this pretty quick.
This gets a
because,
second season, doesn't it?
Probably. I mean, I don't think they've announced it yet. There's still another episode left, but the next one should
I hope
be
they
the last.
don't announce it.
God, they probably will. This whole episode is just Kana hating herself
Which, you know,
again.
half of the episodes have been that by this point. So that's really fun and enjoyable.
I hate this character, and when I say hate, I mean that the way, you know, hate is a powerful emotion. Many people say it's the opposite side of the coin of love. You only hate someone if they reflect your own negative traits, or if you want to love them but they make it impossible. That's the kind, like, I want to love Kana. She should be great. She's foul-mouthed, she's cynical, she's really cute.
But she really
can
hates
sing.
herself.
But yeah, her.
And I will say, this is not unrealistic of people.
No,
like-
it's just fucking annoying to watch ad nauseum in the show when it's beating me over the head with the fucking point, and I get it. I don't. Watching her hate herself doesn't make me like her more. It makes me like her less.
Yeah,
And the
just
more
like
you
real
make
life.
me sit through it, the more I don't care that she's gonna turn herself around, because I don't want to fucking be around her. She's a downer. I feel the love that the author has for this character. Like, I can really feel.
Look, I'm a big Maddox fan, so that is untrue. That is a joke. But, you know,
I was a big Maddox fan.
yeah, I know. That's unfortunate for you, isn't it? I, despite not being a Maddox fan, always have him talking about the sunk cost fallacy in my head. Because Maddox loves to
Very
talk about
important.
fallacies, which is,
Yeah.
you know, fucking hilarious for someone who is a walking fallacy. But, like, just this whole show feels like the sunk cost fallacy, especially because I spoiled this show for myself after we watched the first episode. Because I was like, I really need to be invested. I can't watch an idol show. You know, Love Live's fine. I've seen some Love Live, and it's okay.
It's
but
not fine.
it's fine. Anyway, when I learned about where this show, or, you know, the whole point of the show, he's trying to find his mom's killer.
Yeah. supposedly.
And I just kind of spoiled the whole thing.
That doesn't come up in this episode at all.
Yeah.
What the fuck did they even talk about at the dinner in the last episode? When he met with the director, they never fucking said anything.
It was like, hey, she was a country bumpkin. She didn't know how to dress. Yeah, they didn't really say anything,
they just
actually.
cut away from the scene and never cut back.
This show, I'm sure we'll get a cut back to it. This show really sucks.
I hate this show.
We're still on the first slide.
Well, this is like already 4 minutes in because it's literally... It opens with them explaining to her... Like, it starts off, they tried to catch her on video while they're saying that she's going to be the lead, and she's like, turn off the camera, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And then they explain everything that happened in the previous episode.
Which is really fun.
And then Kana argues for like 3 minutes about why she won't be the lead, and then cut to her being the lead.
Yeah, shocker. She's the best singer. She's the best everything. Why the fuck wouldn't she be the lead? I mean,
And then she continues bitching about having to be the lead for about 15 fucking minutes.
And so, hey, Pieon comes back. That's great.
God.
Oh my god, I love Pieon. He's such a fun character. I'm so happy he's back to train the idol girls. So Pieon comes back, and he's training the idol girls, and basically what he has them do is I think it's like you have to run up and down a hill 3 times, then perform your set 3 times. Or no, it's just you have to run up a hill and then perform your set 3 times, because the biggest thing as an idol is stamina. And so you have to be able to perform your set even when you're the most exhausted you could possibly be. And Pieon, as usual, is adorable. He's a fun character. We really like him.
Yeah. This is so enraging what happens.
We'll get there. It's not clear at this point what we're coming to, but you did guess it about 5 minutes after this.
So
Pieon and the girls are like in an apartment together because they're done with their training for the day. The 2 other girls, what's her name? Ruby and Mem?
Yeah.
Ruby and Mem are just kind of having fun, dancing around, doing whatever, and Kana is sitting out on the balcony being like, they don't know that I had a singing career. And so Pieon comes up to her and basically goes, you don't really like bell peppers, do you? Or they just start, having very similar things in common.
Scene.
And so
Pieon, you remember, big, huge bodybuilder. Now, the way that he's being drawn in this scene, in this moment, in this shot, like, he doesn't look as big as I remember.
Yeah. And
but he does look pretty big, right?
Yeah,
in this
right.
shot.
I wouldn't have called it, but anyway.
You wouldn't have thought that was a teenage boy you've been watching for the entire show based on this shot. Is he wearing like a rig or something? Because he can't be, because the remark that Ruby has as she's looking out the window is, I remember Pieon being like a really buff guy, but I guess he's actually just like about the same size as... Look, Kana and Ruby both trained with Pieon. They met him in person. He's fucking huge. He is
He's a fitness YouTuber.
Way larger than Aqua. And yet, neither of them realizes...
Hang on. We'll get there. Real quick. Kana and Pieon are having a real sweet moment, and Kana goes through this whole mind spiral of like, well, maybe I don't need to put all my chips in on Aqua, This guy makes 100 million yen a year, which makes him a real possibility.
She's having total gold digger thoughts about Pieon, because she's like literally just realizing she connects with him. She's like, I should abandon the guy that I like and start flirting with this fucking dude because we have anything in common. Why would you think he's interested in you, bitch? Like, what are you fucking talking about? She's like imagining that she's just got a chance with this guy. She's not even of age. He is supposed to be an adult.
It's a big problem.
Why does she think she can get with this dude? She's so fucking weird.
I mean, how old is she? Because like she
16, 17 at the most.
That's the age of consent in Japan. They just
Not
changed
on a
it.
national level. Wait, what? Did they really?
They changed it from 13. Yeah, now it's like 16 or 17.
In most places, it's 18.
I know.
Though.
I'm just saying.
Look, she just. I hate people who write badly because it's so hard to express to people who are stupid.
So,
like who
I'm
just
particularly
don't care.
curious. We had watched Kaguya-sama Love is War at the beginning of our relationship, so I felt it very relatable to me at the time. But having watched this show now, I really want to go back and watch like as many episodes as I can until it starts to bother me. Because I'm sure it will now. I mean, that show is done better than this one, but
It's funny because I did not like Kaguya-sama when it came out, but when you and I watched it together, I appreciated the humor a lot more. I just think that show was concentrated and had like a clever idea, and this show is just scattershot fucking. It's a person who is obsessed with the industry, who's obsessed with the entertainment industry, who's probably a fan of idols, who's probably a fan of actresses, and who has all these really strong emotional opinions about the way that those people are treated by the industry, by fans of the industry, and he wants the truth to come out. He's like, I want people to understand the actual emotions, the actual situations that these entertainers are going through. And every once in a while, in the process of that, he touches on something real. There's like a little bit of, okay, this is something that people really go through, or here's something that maybe you didn't know about the industry. Maybe there's something that, like, there's just like little glimpses of, okay, I get why you wanted to make this story because you get to tell people about this, but so much of it is just so obnoxiously misunderstanding because this person isn't an actor, they're not a part of the industry. It's all like random tidbits of information that somebody knows, and then like their idea of how somebody would feel about that rather than like the reality of how somebody feels about that. It's obnoxious. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. They go to a festival and there's
the whole episode is building up to this.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole 2 episodes have been building up to this. It's their first performance as idols. And so they're finally here. They immediately break down and are like, what if people think that we're just the stupid idols that they're only there because we had industry connections?
Even before that, just like they show up at the venue and they're explaining the venue. There's a bunch of girls like putting on makeup and shit all over the place. And there's like a long-winded explanation of what well, of course all the minor acts have to share one big dressing room while the major acts get their own rooms and blah 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 blah. And like the way the show's presenting this, again, very sympathetic, like performers, it's not always all glamorous. But all I could think
was like John Mulaney just now.
All I could think watching the scene is like, this seems like a pretty decent dressing room. Like, what's the like, Kana says we're packed in here like sardines. No, you're not. There's not that many people, and the space is fucking huge.
Oh,
they
right.
have partitions to change behind. I've been to American concert festivals where they're usually outdoors, where usually, like, the backstage section is, I don't know, they pulled up everybody's vans behind the stage, like, there's not usually, like, a nice, huge, air-conditioned dressing room everybody can hang out in like this. I don't know. It just seemed... To me, it feels like the author got an insight into something and felt like it was less glamorous than their idea of how things are supposed to be. But it's not. The entertainers don't fucking deserve anything extra. They don't deserve life to be glamorous and great because of the fact that they fucking look good. I just think this show is overly sympathetic towards people in the entertainment industry, which is not an industry that like deserves to really exist, other than in that, not in the way that it does, I guess I should say. Like, entertainment is great; it does a lot of good things for people, but it doesn't mean that you get to
really bad things for people too.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Pauly Shore?
And it doesn't justify getting to live as like a special person or
So here's
under
another
special circumstances.
I'm sorry, I had to pee, so I didn't get to say this at the opportune moment. But, like, I was thinking about how she's complaining about, it's so uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. I think performing music on such a level as they are should be equally as uncomfortable and difficult as it is to show up to shows like that. Because if you've ever been to a concert in your life, it's a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
It's always bad. It's always not fun. Everything's too expensive. It's just not unless you really like the band, not really worth being there.
Right. No.
And I like a lot of bands that I've not gone to concerts with just because, like, I don't want to deal with that.
I've been to tons of concerts, and yeah, like, it's not really worth it unless you really care about something going on. There's a lot of chaos. A lot of bad organization. But organizing a large group of people is just incredibly fucking hard. And, like, any kind of festival pretty much is just benefiting off of the fact that if you put enough big names on a ticket, you can charge basically anything for that ticket because somebody with a lot of money wants to see at least one of those fucking bands.
The fun part, too, is as you get closer to the event, you can keep raising that charge because it's a scarce thing, or it's a scarcity thing. It's so silly.
The bigger the event, the more guaranteed it's going to be shit. Like, almost every festival, one night gets completely canceled because of rain.
If I ever have a music career, I'm only performing at national parks and only for people that are camping there.
Yeah. It'd be fun. Anyway. Yeah, whatever. Kana becomes the center. Literally, this whole episode
cute.
is so fucking obnoxious.
This is a cute
Did we
screenshot.
clarify that Paeon was on
Aqua
vacation and Aqua was just dressed up as Paeon?
And Kana even actually sees this. She
figures it out, and her reaction is like, "Oh shit, that was Aqua. Well, dang." And I'm like, "What the fuck, bitch? You're not even a little bit upset about the fact that you've been duped horribly?"
I'm curious if she thinks that Aqua is just Paeon, because when you first figured it out, you were like, "Wait, is Aqua just Paeon? Is he?"
Which wouldn't have made, like, I had forgotten until they show him again that, like, no, he's twice Aqua's size. The show gaslit me. The show gaslit me into thinking that it was possible because, I mean, you saw the drawing a few frames ago. That's not Aqua's size. He's drawn as being barely bigger than Kana most of the time. So again, was the costume, like, did it have, like, a frame inside it? Like, how built out was this thing? Like, he looked, but again, Ruby explicitly says, "Oh, that looks like Aqua's frame. I didn't realize Paeon was so skinny and small like my brother." And that was what made me go, wait a minute, what the fuck? Like, none of them could tell that he's not the same guy? They cut to Paeon and he's fucking huge.
This show sucks.
It's very bad. Very, very bad. This episode, yeah, this is like a 2 or 3 out of 10 episode. This was very bad.
1 out of 10. This show, like, it has just continuously lost me over and over and over again. I don't know if I made it clear, but when I spoiled this show for myself with all of the concepts and where it's going and how it could, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna love this. This is gonna be really cool," because I thought they were gonna do it a lot fucking faster than they've chosen to do it. And I even get what they're doing. So, like, without spoilers, it is fairly obvious that Aqua is trying to set up the exact same idol group in the exact same circumstances that I was in, so that whoever killed I can come try to kill someone. Kana, I guess.
Great fucking plan, by the way.
Like, it's, and you know, Aqua,
amazing plan.
It's a terrible plan, but Aqua, you know, he has plot armor, and he has plot armor for everyone he cares about, so he's just magically going to be there and show up and save her, or whatever. But with how this show has handled its first season, it's like you could have gotten halfway through the plot instead of just explaining how idol groups work over and over again. Anyone who's watching an idol show knows how fucking idol groups work. They don't need the intricacies of it explained to them, and I don't need the intricacies explained it to me because I don't care.
No.
This is supposed to be a fucking detective anime, goddammit.
Alright, we got 2 more shows, I think, to cover.
Hey, I didn't hate
Beautiful
this
boy.
one,
He has a
actually.
better character design, actually.
This is the last episode of this season of Oshi no Ko, and
It wasn't the worst.
it wasn't the worst
stuff
episode,
happens.
but it still sucked, and I hate this show. And
10 out of 10. I loved it. It was good. Pretty colors, pretty eyes.
I'll say the first,
I think that's just because you look like Mem.
the concert scene.
I look like who?
Her.
Oh, really?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm seeing more of her
Interesting.
now.
No, yeah, I can see it.
I need
hadn't
like 2
thought about it.
bows to like put my hair back like that.
Mission up.
This episode starts with our newly formed idol group giving their first like real concert, which has a shockingly huge turnout because Mem is, I guess, speaking personally as somebody with the same amount of YouTube subscribers, I don't think she could have pulled this large of a crowd, but whatever. They're doing a show, and
I'm very based.
the animation's fucking crazy.
The animation was very cool.
The performance sequence.
The song wasn't bad,
It's not terrible.
We've had
I
a
didn't
couple
really
really long, full drawn out full songs in this show that I didn't enjoy at all. This wasn't the worst.
No, it probably was the best insert song. I forgot there even were other ones, but yeah. The concert performance looked really great, and it kind of hit a little bit because most of this fucking last couple episodes has just been Kana being in her feelings about how she used to be a real piece of shit. I said was. But
I get that reference now.
She fucking she's the worst. And as she's on stage, she's basically just pleading in her mind like, I just want them to pay attention to me. I just want the love I never got from my mom. Please, 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 somebody, somebody, somebody. And then, wouldn't you know it, out there in the crowd is your boy Aqua. Oh wait, that's her crying.
That's her being sad about her mom.
Is Aqua doing the fucking dance?
The dance they did when they were babies.
I don't know how exactly. Kana's like in her head about like, well, no one's attention is directed directly at me. They're obviously paying attention to the two prettier girls or whatever.
The glow sticks are all... So white is Kana, red is Ruby, and yellow is Mem. And so it's mostly yellow, so mostly people are there to see Mem.
Right. But he's got her baton then.
Please don't eat rabbits. I mean, if I want to eat rabbit stew, I'm going to. Sorry, I just had to respond to that.
Who's talking about eating rabbits and why?
I don't know. I don't really get it.
Whatever. I like that he was playing Beat Saber. That's my joke. Moving on.
Again, the animation here is cool. There's actually my favorite shot in this episode. I didn't get a screen cap of it, but like you see the girls on stage, and you see in the distance the crowd, and you see him like above the crowd doing the dance, and it's got like these after images. It was a really cool shot. Yeah, I don't know. This whole scene was alright. It was fine. I didn't hate
they're in the car back.
Then I immediately hated it in this scene.
I loved it. I stopped watching.
Yeah. Quinn pretty much
10 out of
checked
10.
out
10 out of
around
10.
here. So they're in the car ride home. It's all like tense and awkward because nobody's saying anything. I don't know why. Kana finally is like, hey, so we did pretty good, right? And he's like, yeah. You did pretty good. And she's like, that's it? And he's like, well, I can't give you too much praise because you're going to have even bigger concerts in the future, and I got to save all my good praise for them. Wait. That's about when I started rolling my eyes and going,
All right. Don't be Risper, don't be begrudgingly invested in anything. If you like this show, you are genuinely right. Trixie cannot be more wrong about this show. This show is, in fact, 10 out of 10.
Seen one episode.
People like it for a reason. Risper, you're good. You're based.
The reason is the mom dies.
Yeah, no, the mom.
I love it when moms die.
If the mom dies, the anime is going to be a success.
No,
I'm just telling you.
Well,
if you kill the mom, your anime.
There's a reason for
popular.
that. Is that dead moms are fun. So you should stop being so jaded and accept.
That's a hot take.
Anyway,
look, I felt nothing in episode 1 of Attack on Titan when the mom died, and I was really confused when everybody was like, "Oh my god, but the mom died!" And I was like,
I don't remember
who
the
cares?
mom dying.
She
gets bitten in half by the smiling Titan.
There's more reasons than that Attack on Titan had a really good first episode. Anyway,
it is a good show. I came around on it. I like it a lot now.
I didn't. I think it sounds stupid going forward.
Oh,
when it gets to season
I fell
4,
off from
it
season 3
really
and then really picked back up in season 4.
I watched my ex kind of go through the show, and they look dumb. I don't know.
It's got a lot of hefty concepts that are really
It's
gonna
a
have to
hell of
do
a lot
right.
more interesting than this fucking show.
This show is great.
Look.
Oh, hang on.
It's eye porn. I'm all for it. Same. Risper is same. It's beautiful. The eyes are so beautiful.
Eyes are
Animation
cool.
is so beautiful. I love it. It's great.
This is kind of...
I hate the character designs.
What?
That's actually a bad take.
Yeah, why would you?
I know Butthole Weeb is with me. Shout out Butthole Weeb.
What? I mean, okay.
Butthole Weeb hates all character designs, though.
It's not true. Well, he likes Love Live, which has the worst character design. So actually, fuck you, Butthole Weeb.
Okay,
all right.
You're not here.
Anyway,
anymore.
talking about the actual
Trixie,
show.
You're valid. If you hate these signs, you're valid. But Risper, you're valid too.
Everyone here is valid as long as they give me money.
I'm just thinking about how funny it is that 2 episodes ago, during our filter episode, we literally were like, "Fuck you if you like this show. Stop watching our podcast."
Really?
Yeah.
We're
Wow.
like really
You two
mean
suck.
about it.
You know that.
It's the filter episode. We
It's
had
the
to-
filter episode.
That one
Why do you
was.
need a filter episode? You have 3 viewers.
We were really angry.
We have 20 viewers right now.
Do we have 20 viewers? Okay. Well, you're sure filtering a whole lot. I don't know.
So Kana is on the ride home with Aqua and basically goes, "What'd you think of that?" And Aqua goes, "It was mid." And she is offended.
Oh yeah, so this.
Yeah, what an asshole. Actually, this show sucks. What a dick. He's not well written. Fuck that kid.
He's not well written.
Jesus,
it's really
the
annoying.
show's ass.
Well, so it just makes everything really awkward in the car after he says this, and then there's this weird domino realization where, like Mem suddenly becomes aware that Kana likes him, and then asks him his opinion of the girl he is supposedly dating.
And realizes
Akane.
that it is a work relationship.
Well, he
only.
literally just
did
says
he just say that?
out loud.
That's-
He's like, "Oh, I just think of her as like a work partner. I haven't even seen her outside of like the show, so fuck her." And Kana's immediately like, "Oh my god, that means I have a chance." So now she's just like
Aqua
in
is
love
a
with
pickup
him.
artist.
And then Mem is like unclear on who she should support. Like, should I be backing Akane? Should I be backing Kana? What should I do?
Well, because
It was obnoxious.
Quinn, you weren't around for this. Akane a suicide attempts, and Aqua saves her after she is jumped by picking her up off of the ledge, like out of thin air, basically. So Mem.
what do you mean? Like she jumps and she runs
jumps
up
off
and
a
grabs
bridge,
her?
and he runs and grabs her.
Do you know
and
how much strength
picks her
that
up.
takes?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Shout out the Edit the Sad Parts music video by Modest Mouse that keeps getting removed off YouTube. That includes that.
The mom lady helped.
The mom lady helped. What the fuck?
I don't know. I mean,
she helped. She was the one who must have asked him how he felt about Akane then.
Okay.
And then Mem is like freaking out about
But basically,
God,
Mem,
why?
Aqua, and Akane were all on the dating show together. That's how they all know each other, and so that's why Mem is having a hard time choosing behind Akane. And anyway, this show. So yeah, whatever. The car scene happens. Aqua basically just goes, "You're gonna have better concerts. Why would I give you high praise now?" Which is dumb. This guy's such an asshole.
Yeah. So, we cut to a scene between
of a guy with like half white and half black hair, which is
he's a like promoter for a
playhouse. I think he's Akane's boss.
he has some. I don't remember specifically what his job title was, but basically it's a meeting that he's having with the producer of the dating show who had talked to the main character, and this whole scene. This is another one of those like we're talking about industry stuff scenes because like this scene did not need to exist for the plot of the show fucking at all. The point of this scene is they're going to put on a stage play adapting this extremely popular manga, and they need good stage. Like as soon as they said stage show, it's like Akane's coming back.
Yeah,
that's the point. But the scene is like 3 minutes of them talking shop about how they're going to make this thing and why it's happening. Again, really unnecessary information. These characters aren't interesting. Producer man, we already know is just some shitty old guy. And then the new dude is just over-designed, ridiculous, like a character who feels like he was devised for the sake of this scene and being the facilitator of this information. But yeah, there's a popular manga. They're going to make a... God, the way they can explain...
2.5D play.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is just a thing in Japan that happens because having it explained, I couldn't visualize what the fuck they're going to do in this play. I think it like integrates holograms or something.
Hang on. 2.5D, 2.5 dimensional perspective refers to gameplay or movement in a video game or virtual reality environment.
That's not what this is. That's for gaming, but this is for a stage play.
I assume, even though the Wikipedia page says it's about a video game or virtual reality, that the similar aspects are integrated into the play.
How? What does that mean?
You know what 4D is? They pipe smells into the theater. Like,
So it can mean anything, is what you're saying. I really... It seemed like they were saying they were going to do, like, projections onto the stage or something like that.
a 2.5-dimensional musical, also known as
There you
anime
go.
musical, is a type of modern Japanese musical theater production based exclusively on popular Japanese anime, manga, or video games. The term 2.5D musical was coined to describe stories presented in a two-dimensional medium being brought to real life.
Okay, so it's literally just anime-adapted plays are called 2.5D? That's stupid. That's really stupid. It's in 3D. No. Alright, well, that's some dumb anime terminology that doesn't need to exist.
The first successful manga-based musical production was The Rose of Versailles in 1974.
Ah, well, that's a good one. In any case, there's just so much, like, trying to explain what the fuck this is, that really didn't need to exist, including in the scene where, like, we'll get back to this actually in a second, because there's a scene where Akane and Aqua are on one of their fake dates.
The only fake date we've seen, I think.
And they're just, like, talking about how she's going to be auditioning for this stage play. There's a totally pointless fucking line where he's like, isn't most of, like, the manga that's adapted into stage play
stuff?
like gay? And she's like, yeah, but this one's not. Okay, like, they just felt the need to, like, in
The show
case
really
you
likes
didn't
to
know,
explain
it's
things.
mostly yaoi. It's like, okay, but it's not this time. So
That's
why
really
the
straight.
fuck does it matter?
Well, I think it's literally the show going no homo, which is really weird.
That is really weird. Well, I think they just, like, it's like, I feel like the show is often trying to cut off commenters at the pass. Like, because this is the kind of thing that a lot of YouTubers will put stuff in their script that's just like, before someone comments about how most of these
In
are
before.
gay.
That's a good-
in before.
That's
yeah,
a good
exactly.
point. Yeah.
There's a lot of just pointless in before in this show. And then also, so I have to explain exactly why this show is so frustrating in just one simple concept.
And I've just got to say really quickly, you're wrong. This is the best show ever.
Wow, what a contrarian. What the
Like
heck?
4 episodes ago, Aqua finished the filming on the dating show. I want to say like episode 3 or 4, he joined a dating show. By episode 8 or 9, the dating show was over. The whole reason he joined the dating show is that the producer knew something about his mom and agreed to tell him something if he did the show. So for like 8 episodes, we've been waiting to know what this man knows about his mom. That's it. That's the only thing we've been waiting for the plot to make any fucking progress
Guess
at all.
what? He doesn't know that much.
Doesn't know that much, but even what he does know, like, we got to the end of the show 4 episodes ago, and then they had the start of the conversation 3 episodes ago, or 2 episodes ago. In the last episode, we saw half of it, but not the half that included the information that we're looking for. Only now, finally, does he say, hey, it was probably when your mom was working on this show, because her attitude changed.
She came back from the workshop with, I believe the quote is, the face of a grown woman.
Yes, she started taking care of herself. She suddenly was a different person. So he's like, if she had a relationship, it was probably at this time. That's what we've been waiting for. 8 fucking episodes to get to, probably during a stage play. Oh, hey, how convenient that you're going to be doing a stage play very soon. Wow. Alright. Cool. So, yeah, both Akane and Kana want to compete for this stage play.
Because they want to kiss Aqua. They both want to kiss
Oh my
Aqua.
God.
That's the point, because the two characters are in love with each other.
I like
Just
her,
fucking kiss him.
I like that hair color.
Yeah,
It's
she has
cool.
really cool hair. And
Oh my god, I
unfortunately,
just
she
realized
sucks.
I just realized Kana and Akane
Why
is
did I
literally
just
red
say
versus
like
blue.
that?
Because I hate her so much.
Oh.
Look, we all...
I like her hair.
To quote the hippie at the end of the Anamanaguchi album, the people that you hate are the reflections of your own character defects. Kana is
Oh,
everything I don't like about myself turned
wow.
up to 11. She's just
Skill issue.
All she does is complain about how nobody likes her even though she's famous. And this episode makes it even worse because Kana's whole character is that she was a child actress. She thought she was hot shit when she was a kid.
And apparently
then,
so did everyone else.
Yeah, well, at the time she was considered a genius because of her ability to cry on command and like her convincing emotionality. Aqua showed her up on the set of a film and she never got over it. She's never been able to convince herself she was better than him, and her career floundered. She had a little bit of popularity with a song, like a cute little TV commercial song.
She had like a whole singing career, but the one she got famous with was a song about how eating bell peppers is good for you.
So like
I don't like him.
Because of the fact that she never was able to reach the success that she had as a child, she has just been beating herself up for the last like 10 years. However, this isn't to say that she hasn't still been in the industry. And meanwhile, Akane, who we have been introduced to as a genius theater actor, claims that when she was a kid, she was a child actor, but she couldn't get any roles because she was in the same generation as Kana, and she views Kana as this like world-class genius actress. Which, if she is, why didn't she have a career still? Like, if she's so good, how did she fall by the wayside completely? Or is it totally in her mind? Like, I have to hate something based on... I either have to hate Kana even more because she's not only hates herself but is also full of shit and, like, actually popular, or I have to be angry at the writing for trying to convince me that she didn't have a career but had enough of a career that it fucked up Akane's career even though she's still considered a genius.
Ellen Horizon, this is so convoluted. Yes, it is.
I can't deal with it.
I'd be sploding.
So my final score for Oshi no Ko is...
Was that the last screen cap?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Anything else?
Strong 3.
Oh, 1 out of 10.
To a light 4. I don't know.
I was really excited for this show after the first episode and kind of seeing what they were setting up for it and learning where they do end up going with it. And then the whole season, it's like nothing happened.
Literally, I remember like episode 1 was an emotional roller coaster. I really hated it at first, and then it started winning me over. The mom dying was crazy. I was like, wow, so much stuff happened.
That was a really good scene, too.
It felt like a lifetime, because it was so much fucking dialogue and explanation of shit. It felt like I was watching that first episode for a whole lifetime. And then, like, episode 2, nothing happens. And then you get to episode 3, and almost nothing happens. And then you get to the rest of the season, and it's 8 episodes of waiting for this one guy to tell the main character, like, what the next thing is. I mean, granted, you built up, like, 2 or 3 girls who are now, like, on his team or whatever, but they're all obnoxious. They're all deeply hateable. I mean, Mem is the best one.
Mem is
the only one who's not, like, outwardly despisable. Whereas Akane's, like, I don't know, psycho stalker. Kana is just depressed and hard to watch, and the other one's a fucking idiot. Ruby, that's her name.
Ruby is her name, yes.
Ruby's a fucking idiot. So they're all very difficult to care about.
I think you're just a hater.
And Aqua's just a like fake Lelouch whose story I can't care about. Yeah, I hated Oshi no Ko, but that's not news.
Alright.
I can't wait for the next season.
Who's ready for Quinn's wrap up?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so like I didn't I did think, since I got so bored I didn't watch half this episode, that maybe me not having watched the best episode, which is episode 1, it may affect the score, but actually their eyes are pretty cool. 10 out of 10.
The eyes are cool. Yeah.
That dance in the beginning, ooh, I liked it this late. All right, cool.
All right, is that it? That's all the anime.